My water. Here we go. 3, 2, 1.
Boom! And welcome to the Big Honker Podcast, brought to you by Dive Bomb Industries. I'm Jeff Stanfield with the world famous Andy Shaver.
Squad Fest coming in July. We will be there. Hope to see you there also.
Yep, come by there and you know the drill. Buy a beer for Andy and he'll drink every one of them you bring him.
No, sir. Can't do it.
With us today, we have a man that is a legend in high school baseball. He is in the Texas Baseball Hall of Fame. He's coached for 41 years. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
41 years. He's coached at Archer City, at Windthorst, at Holiday.
I did not coach at Windthorst. I just
did
coached
not?
some of their guys in summer league.
Okay. So Archer City, Holiday,
And then Tioga.
and Tioga.
I was at Ryder for one semester in spring one year, but that's a long story.
The
Now,
gentleman's name is Coach Terry Wolf, and he is a legend, and I've got lots of questions. I've been
he
having people
is.
send me stuff.
And I just found out he got to the Hall of Fame before Nolan Ryan did.
Yep.
The year before.
Very proud of that.
Claim to fame right there. You beat Nolan Ryan to it.
That's hard to do, too.
Yes, it is.
Well, he is a stud. Whew. They don't make men like him no more. He's
No.
one of those guys that could have went to the beaches in Normandy.
I would have been behind him. He's a guy that I went and I took, I don't know, probably 100 pitchers just to make sure I got his 5,000 strikeout. But I got it when he struck out Ricky Henderson. It was great.
You know, speaking of Ricky Henderson, I went to a game one time, or not game, I watched it. When Pudge Rodriguez got called up to the majors, they were playing against Oakland, and Ricky Henderson tried to steal on him, and he threw him out by about 10 yards.
Yeah.
Is he the best catcher ever, or do we kind of put him on that pedestal?
Well, he's the best.
Yeah.
He is still
yes.
the best?
Yeah.
A kid from St. Louis is the second best
Yeah.
player.
Molina? Is that
Piazza.
what it is?
Oh yeah, Molina. Yeah.
Yeah.
And he got his arm broke last night, I think. I saw that.
But I mean, Pudge is the
pinnacle?
tier that everybody tries to get to.
Yeah.
Jim Kern, a good friend of mine who played majors a long time, him and Fergie have sat right here. Jenkins they've hunted with us before. I've known Fergie and Jim forever, and both of them tell me that it's Pudge and Johnny Bench.
Yes. And if you ask some of my good friends like Matt McQuarrie, they'll say Johnny Bench first, but it's Pudge.
See, I think so. Well, Pudge was an amazing.
Johnny Bench was before my time, so what made Johnny Bench so special?
Just unbelievable leadership. He played on a team that was fascinating. You know, had Pete Rose on it and Ken Griffey. But the ultimate leader of that whole team was Johnny Bench. I mean, God, just the way you just don't see people play that hard all the time. You know, Pete Rose did, those guys, but it was like Pudge. He plays hard. He played hard all the time, and that's what Johnny Bench was like.
And that's not a forgiving position either.
No, it's not.
Johnny
you're
Bench
always-
was he was a big sized man too, wasn't he?
Yes.
Like 6'2", 6'3", 220 pounds or something.
Right.
And Pudge was undersized but stocky as hell. A friend of mine coached kid baseball in Yukon, Oklahoma. And he told me, he said, I made the biggest ass of myself one time. He told me the story. He coached, and it may not be in Yukon, it's one of those towns outside of Oklahoma City. And this lady goes, my brother-in-law, he played a little bit of baseball. She goes, he could come out and help you a little bit. I don't want no help or something. It was Johnny Bench.
Oh, God.
I was going to come out and give some pointers to the kids. Oh,
Man.
we don't need him. I don't need some guy thinks he knows baseball coming out here.
What an opportunity.
And heard it. But I've heard Bench is not a real nice guy, or wasn't. He's still alive, isn't he?
Yes, but he's not personable.
Yeah, that's what I've heard, that he's not at all.
But I tell you who is Roger Clemens. I know he has a horrible reputation.
He seems like an ass but that's just
But
him on the mound.
in real life, though, he spoke at baseball clinic one year, and so when he was done signing autographs, I asked him, I said, hey, man, you want to go? There's a little room back here. I'd like to talk some baseball with you, you know. I said, I'd like to learn all I could about pitching, especially. He said, yeah. I said, well, I'll buy all the beer. That was a mistake to say with Roger Clemens. But he taught me the stretching drills so you would never have to worry about, your shoulders. And oh my God, after I did them a little bit, I couldn't believe how loose I was. So even at Archer City, I started having those pictures. Actually, I had everybody do them. We never had one shoulder trouble in all my years of coaching. Never.
Really?
Because of those drills he taught me.
It's just crazy. Baseball, I coach Little League baseball, and I want your take on this. When I was young, I remember watching baseball as a kid. So when I got to Little League, I had a little bit of knowledge on at least how you're supposed to look on the field and kind of the nuances of the game. First day of practice today, and I've had some of these kids since, Coach Pitch, but like the basic knowledge of baseball among 8, 9, and 10-year-olds is not there anymore.
No, they don't watch games.
No.
Now, if you take them to a game and you make them watch stuff, they will. But now that they have cell phones and video games, I mean, they'd rather see how many home runs they can hit on the deal. It's not. Basics have to be taught. Whereas in the past, a lot of the kids that came up, they knew a lot of the basics and they knew a lot of the nuances of the game. Not now.
No. And I've noticed that a lot. And Clay Reed actually gave me some good pointers. So this is my 3rd or 4th year with these kids, and he said, coach them baseball. Wins will come later, but coach them the game of baseball. Don't because like there's a lot of things you can kind of favorite to win. Like instead of if the ball's hit to shortstop, just throw it to the pitcher and the play's dead.
Oh, yeah.
Well, that's not baseball. Like,
No.
you need to throw it to first base. He's like, they're going to overthrow it. First baseman's going to drop it. But get them moving in the right direction, and the wins will come later.
Well, see, I even did that with high school. I mean, we started off with this as a baseball. I mean, because high school kids have to be taught everything. I mean, I know they come in, a lot of them think they're big, but I'm telling you, those guys that I taught how to hold the glove, how to keep your hands open all the time, what to be looking for, how to come out of the batter's box properly, how to do a lead properly, the catcher making sure you were back, all these little things. And so, I drilled that over and over and over, and it always hurt us at the first of the year.
Right.
But by the time we were in the playoffs, we were pretty good.
Right. Yeah.
You coached at Holiday.
Yes, sir.
You went to the state tournament 6 times in a row.
Yes.
Holiday has got bad luck. I mean, I'm not trying to be rude, but
No.
they have a great school system.
Yes.
One of the best school systems in the state of Texas, probably. I know now they're getting inundated with Wichita Falls kids.
Yeah.
But great school system. Very good in athletics, always. But always something happens to them at the very end.
That's right.
They've never won a state championship in football or baseball, have they?
No.
Or basketball?
No.
But they've been there many times.
Yes.
And so you took them 6 state tournaments.
I took them to 8, but 6 in a row.
6 in a row state tournaments.
Yes.
How many times did you get beat in the state finals?
6.
6. All 6 times you played the state championship game.
Yes.
And y'all got beat like by just a few runs every time, didn't y'all?
3 times by 1 run.
One hit.
2 times we got spanked. Of course, we were playing not only the best team in 3A, we were playing the best team in the state. Weimar at that time had 2 first-round draft picks pitchers. They were good. They were above us, and we're throwing a sophomore up there, and sophomore 3 hits them, and we get beat 2-0. But we just went toe to toe with the best team that was there. And there was another year. I mean, I don't yell at officials very much, but in this one particular state championship game, I hate to ever say that something happened because of an official, but we're going to win. I mean, we're going to win. This team was special. This team had come after the 6 in a row because the next year we got beaten in the regional semifinals. In 2008, we got beaten in the regional semifinals. Then all of a sudden, 2009, these kids are now juniors and seniors. They went to state as freshmen and sophomores.
Right.
Oh, my God. I mean, taking that team to state in year 6, that was one of the most fun years I ever had. But this 2009 team was special. We had it all. Not only do we have it all on defense, pitching, we also hit 48 home runs that year. 48. Now, I don't know if you understand high school baseball. 48 home runs, and we hit 2 out at Dish Falk. And one kid hit it over the message board in right center. That's a 450-foot shot.
Yeah.
No other team 6A down hit 1 out. We hit 2. So we were special. And we lose the game because our pitcher, who ended up playing for the Miami Marlins, stepped back off the mound, and the pitching coach, Ryan Manasco, said, "You all right?" And he shook his head, yes. And he gets back, and the umpire calls a balk. Said he was taking signals while he wasn't on the rubber. We lost the game because of that. They gave them,
goodness.
I mean, a runner on third gets to score, and we lose. That was the. If you ever look up my name on Coach Terry Wolf, that's the first picture you'll see.
Yes, it is, because I did.
You'll see me ripping this old man. I put him in the hospital because of that. He had a hard time. So
Really?
yeah. Well, I don't feel bad for him though. That was a tough call, man.
Yeah, that is funny because you're right. Like, well, here it is right here, I think. Googled your name, and that's the one?
It. Yes, that picture right
Very
there.
first picture when you Coach Terry Wolf, and that's it.
And that's it. And I mean, I was stroking him, and that old man's trying to. And what was so bad is the home plate ump came out and said, "Now, you sure you saw something?" Said he was off the mound. Said he was taking signals. He said he wasn't looking at the catcher. He was looking to the dugout. It doesn't matter if you look to the dugout. The coach can talk to you.
Yeah.
So in high school baseball, the pitcher can't take signals from the catcher?
Yeah, but it has to be on the rubber.
Oh, okay. I got you now.
And he had not even looked at home plate yet.
So
And
common sense just did not prevail is what it was.
no, it was hot, and the old man needed a drink. And it was just a bad deal. And that was heartbreaking.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, that
That's
was
a big way to lose.
It was.
You know, and you have this discussion a lot. You have it in football a lot. Like when in basketball, like when does the ref need to swallow the whistle? You know what I
Yes,
mean?
yes.
Just let it play out. Mm-hmm. And I mean, it can go to extremes. You know, there's pass interferences and stuff like that, and blatant fouls in basketball. But it's just like, if it ain't just blatantly obvious, just let it ride in these big moments.
Did you coach Pat Maxwell?
No, I did not. I coached against him. Pat and I were very good friends. As a matter of fact, before that summer that Pat died,
Right.
he and I had several coaching clinics set up where we were going to area coaches, and we were going to work with the coaches and also work with the kids, kind of a mentor deal. And we had a lot of that set up. And
Pat was a good guy.
yeah, great guy, great athlete.
Played AAA ball for Cleveland.
Yes.
Old friend of mine. I've known him since high school, and got killed in a car wreck last year. And he was Petrolia's head coach.
Yes.
It was last spring he got killed, didn't
Yeah.
he? Yeah, bad deal.
Has there ever been, because I've always wondered about that, like when the manager just rips the umpire up and down, is there ever a time where they're like, yeah, I screwed up, let me take that back? Or like, you know what I mean? It's like the manager goes out, rips the umpire. It just doesn't seem like a good way of doing business. And now I understand yours is special. Like,
Yeah.
like that's an extenuating circumstance. But like there's a lot of times you'll see these managers come out and just rip the umpire, and you're like, I don't know if that was
I think
worth
it's
it.
majors though, because they just go on back in the drink a beer and sit in the dugout.
In high school, and like I said, I never. I mean, that just wasn't the way I coached because I was too busy being on my kids. I didn't
Right.
have time to worry about what the officiating was going on.
Yeah.
When they blew a call, I'd go out there, and this was the kind of relationship I had with the officials. I'd run out there so it made it look like, hey, and then they're already saying, Coach, I know. I said, okay, but I got to make it look good.
I got it. The board's here.
Yeah, and so, but I had a great relationship with officials.
Yeah.
And so I didn't hardly ever get on any
Right.
officials.
Are baseball umpires different though than like football officials? Are they having a hard time finding baseball umps?
Yes, they are.
Because I know in high school football in Texas is getting critical on finding officials, especially the small schools like us.
Right.
You get to the 6A schools, they get the cream of the crop.
Right.
Well, the whole Panhandle, whatever district that is, they moved their football games up to Thursday night,
Right, because they couldn't get officials.
The new officials were going to on Friday night. They were going to play, or they were going to officiate the big schools.
Right, and it's even down there where I live now in Pilot Point area, it's same thing. A lot of people are having to switch games to Thursday night, or they might have to move their baseball games to Monday nights.
When you think about it, I mean, I don't know. I don't think the pay's very good. I mean, and you're going to have pissed off parents and coaches. I mean, it's just, I don't know.
The really good officials do it because they love the game.
Right.
And they like to see people compete, and the really good officials will even tell you, that's why they do it. Mm-hmm. And then you'll see some of them that are just seem like they're there just to try to make a little paycheck.
Yeah.
And they want to get the game over with as fast as they can. So
they say volleyball, if you're a volleyball referee, that's where you make the most money because you have a lot of games that day. So if you're going to listen, if you're a young kid and you want to make a little bit extra change in college, go ref volleyball games. You're going to get a bunch of them, or basketball too.
Right. They don't have much trouble getting officials. It's football and baseball.
Jeff's dad, my grandfather, he likes to tell a story. One of the first 6-man games he watched, the official, it was basically a track meet with a football in it. And they got to where that official, he'd run down there, call a touchdown, he'd run back, call the touchdown, and then finally towards about the second quarter, he was just calling it from the 40 like, we're good, touchdown.
It's hard to get down there balet and forth like that. So.
It is. Like, there's some guys that you feel bad for. Did you see this video? It's of Aaron Boone. So let me see. Get some sound, maybe. Hold on a second. What happened? I didn't do this. Here we go. Now you'll be able to hear it. So he gets warned.
What? I'm looking for him to get hit by the pin. You got anything else to say? You're gone. Okay?
Oh, okay, Hunter.
Wow. You know what? We're not going to need a John Boy breakdown of that one. We got a very clear.
Aaron, you're
Well,
gone.
there you go. And now Aaron's saying I didn't say anything.
You're gone.
But it came from the crowd.
Yeah.
Second, I didn't say a word.
Chunked his ass, and he didn't say a word.
Oh, man. Now, see, when you get officials like that have rabbit ears,
Right.
that's no good.
No, it's not. But they got rid of him, and like they even show a replay of it all, and like you can see, like he's
Yeah, he's
checking
not
his
doing
fingernails,
anything.
he's checking his watch, and then the guy's like, "You're gone, you're out of here."
Too damn. Speaking of situations, brawls and stuff, Coach Steele said when he was at Henrietta, his senior year, I guess they go to Archer City and play y'all.
Yes.
And y'all had a brawl breakout between the teams.
Yes.
Chuck was been a handful for somebody.
Well, he was, but, I'm telling you, Chuck's the one that started it.
Did he?
He sure did. We're, at that time, Archer City, Holiday, Henrietta, and Nocona were in a 4-team race, and then they only take 2 teams to the playoffs. And all 4 teams are ranked in the top 10. So, I mean, if you were playing one of these teams, you were going to see their best pitcher. And Chuck, he was a good high school athlete. I mean, a very strong pitcher. Well, this is for the playoff spot. And they're beating us 4-1. It's in the bottom of the 6th, and we're rallying. We have now made it a 4-3 ball game. We got our runners on second and third. And a ball is hit to left center. Their left fielder, Lance Franklin, who was a great athlete.
Sings for Bowling for Soup.
No, it's not the same one, I don't think. But he dives, and the ball hits the ground, but the umpire doesn't make any call. He doesn't make a safe call, out call, nothing, so I'm sending my guys. Well, the home plate ump stops play, and we have a guy that's coming around second, headed towards home, and the ump's called time, and he's walking out kind of like to the other umpire, and they're coming together. Well, we got a freshman that's running home. Well, Charlie sees him, and he don't like that he's running towards home, and he comes flying up and just forearms this kid right in the back of the head. Well,
Chuck's 6'5". He's a big man.
and he takes him down. Well, we had one of those small school athletes that was a man, His name was Nicky McCorkle.
I remember him.
One of the best athletes in small schools you'd ever find. Well, Nicky comes flying out of the dugout, and he picks Charlie up and slams him. Well, most of our guys from Archer were little bitty. Well, you look over, and it looked like fire ants. This kid named Sam Berube, another kid named Marlon Mettern, and all these little kids are just right there, just pam, 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 and Nicky's just sitting there, got him pinned. Well, at that time, the new wave of Henrietta players came, and wham! Now these little guys are getting knocked over.
You had a full-blown fight on your
hands. It was a full-blown deal. So I run out there, and I'm trying to get these guys off Charlie. When that next wave of Henrietta players come, I get knocked over that pile. Well, then the Henrietta coach comes out, and the next wave of Archer players came out, and he gets knocked over a pile. Man, it seemed like it went on forever. It probably lasted 2 minutes, but it seemed like forever.
What? They eject everybody?
Yeah, they ejected everybody, and so we don't know what's going to happen. We don't know if we're both barred from the playoffs, and then UIL actually drives down. We're going to have to play the game the following Monday. UIL drives down. The superintendents from both schools, a UIL guy, we meet on the mound and get our asses ate out. And then the soups chewed us out, and the players had to shake hands. But it was the kind of game where you could feel I don't know if there was something in the weather or whatever, but you could feel it brewing.
A lot of tension in the game.
Yeah, it was huge tension. So we had to play on Monday, and we ended up beating them 1-0 to go to the playoffs. But, whew, I'm telling you, it was old Charlie. He got a lot of stuff going right now.
He's one that asked me to ask you about it, too.
You know what, though? I love that guy.
Oh, he's one of my best friends in the whole world.
You know, I mean, I admire him for what he's done for six-man football, and
he loves kids.
Yeah, he does. He's a great person.
He's a great guy. He's one of my best friends in the world. I love him to death. He's just like a brother to me. We've been through a lot of things together, and he's a lot of fun. But he's another one of those guys, if I had a battle and I needed to have some. Now, I would like to have the old fat big Chuck, the new skinny Chuck. I don't know how much help he's going to help in a fight, and he's getting old and crippled. But 15 years ago, he would have been one of the first people I'd want on my side. But as easy going a guy as there ever has been.
Good guy.
But a big guy. But he told me to ask you about that. Another question I'm going to ask you before we get into all your stories is, you're also a softball coach at Tioga, right? Is that right? Or Tioga? Is that he said?
Yeah. Well, what happened? I had tried to go into retirement. This is for the third time.
Yeah.
And what I was doing, I had helped with football, but then in the spring, I wasn't going to coach anything. I was just going to chill. Well, the softball coach got let go, and they had a first-year coach that was the coach. So the AD and the suit, and they called me up, asked me, they need help. They hadn't won a game in 2 years. Is there any way you can come out and help? I said, it's going to be way different. He said, it's okay. They need it. I said, all right. So I go out there, and these girls are not happy to see me. And I told them, I said, if any of y'all want to leave right now, now's the time to do it. I said, I will not be your head coach. I will be in charge of the practices. And they all said they was going to stay. So I started yelling right from the start. And I mean, I'm making them run to their positions, and I'm making them, run around. And I'm getting on to them if they're jogging and stuff. And we're about halfway through practice, and I look over, and they're all bent over. And say, what's wrong with y'all? We're tired. We've never done any of this kind of stuff before. So I lined them up and made them run foul pose. Well, I tell you what, that team, they turned it around. They ended up winning, and their attitude was awesome after that. And just,
needed some work.
Girls needed some discipline too.
That's one of the hardest positions to fill. I'm on school board here at Knox City. It is so hard to find a girls coach.
Yes, it is.
And I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's, I don't know. Like we've had a lot of discussions about like why girls coaches just don't stick around. Number one, I think a lot. Some of them are women, and they get out of the profession to have kids. So coaching, it's 7 days a week a lot of times, and it's terrible hours. And if a woman has a baby, then that becomes their priority number one. And then it seems like men that are in the girls coaching world, they're always looking for the next step up. And that's just kind of where we are in Knox City. Like, we're a stepping stone. If we get a good coach that does not have ties here, they're looking to go somewhere else.
Well, I understand.
Yeah.
You're right about the girls coaches. And a lot of the reason why you can't find one right now is if they get their feelings hurt with the way these parents are now, their parents aren't going to wait to hear the whole story.
Right.
All they're going to hear is her story. Well, then instead of handling it like the way it was when I was growing up, or even, I'm going to even say 10 years ago, now these parents are flying up there at the first deal. And instead of going through the, I don't know if y'all have it, but I always, as an athletic director, because I was athletic director, head football, and head baseball, but I had it set up, no parent could talk to me or any coach until the kid had talked to me. If that didn't work, then the parent had to email, couldn't call yet, had to email, and then we'd set up a meeting. And then I would be in there with that coach, and then I gave them a list of rules of what they could do. Like, for first of all, I never allowed them to address another player. It had to be only their player, their kid. And then when they saw that, and I said, if it ever becomes heated, I'm shutting it down immediately. Well, a lot of parents get turned off by that. They like, well, that's not, I want to yell at the coach. Well, you're not going to here.
Right.
But what happens is a lot of people don't have those protocols. And by not having them, those get, and sometimes the superintendent, principals, everybody are afraid of getting sued,
Right.
That's the biggest thing that has ruined high school coaches is this kind of fear. And so that's one of the reasons why it's hard to find girls coaches.
Yeah.
I think it's hard to find good coaches anymore anyways because of the parentings, like you said. Parents, we have raised two generations of pussies almost. I hate to say that, but we talked about this before. You go find your dad was 16 years old when he signed up for World War II.
Yes,
Both of my grandparents went to World War II. My dad's generation all was in Vietnam, or my dad was a little older than that, but the Vietnam generation, those guys fought and stuff, and they got sent over at 18 years old, and they're fighting, and it's just these kids today, you couldn't count on these kids for shit. You can't find a real man. I was telling Coach earlier in your game last night, that kid that played for the other team that played first base, he's a full-grown kid almost.
Yeah, and he checked his birth certificate.
He's a big-ass kid.
Yeah.
Every school used to have a big kid that was a big bully-type kid. We don't have those kids no more, hardly.
Right.
We just don't have.
rare.
You just don't see the mature kid that could go be 16 years old and be a man and live by himself. Like Clay Reed talks about living homeless at 14, 15.
Oh, yeah.
These kids today can't do that shit. And that's not a good thing.
No, it's not.
But we've pussified all these kids and these coaches now that we get these young coaches coming out of school. I don't know very many 23, 24-year-old men that got sacks on them anymore either.
I'm going to tell you something about my biggest complaint about the longer I coached was the young coaches come in because they were feeling entitled. They immediately thought they should be some type of coordinator.
Yeah.
And, I'm like, come on. You got to put in your time. You're going to do all the grunt work. You're going to do this stuff. And so young coaches that came in later in my years, they had a hard time staying because, like I said, they felt this entitlement. And, boy, you talking about a big turnoff for me.
Yeah.
And they were not good workers. Not good workers. This is how bad it was. I ripped this coach's ass because of his work ethic. His dad called me.
That's ridiculous.
A professional. He's supposed to be a professional coach. And his dad's calling him.
I told him, I said, you're the most embarrassing person I've ever talked to in my life.
That's true, though.
But
there's a difference between helping your kid and enabling your kid.
Yes.
And you're not helping your kid when he's a grown man calling his boss.
no. Yeah. And I'm going to do this real quick. I'm going to do a shout out to my son, Justin Wolf. He loves y'all's show. And, but my son, Justin, I took off 1 year of coaching baseball. He went to school in Albany. and I'm in holiday. So I actually took 1 year of coaching, not coaching baseball, so I could go watch him play his senior year. He was a great baseball player, first team All-State baseball player. I tried sitting in the stands at first, but all the parents wanted to do is they wanted to come over. What would you have been doing right here? What, I said, I'm here to watch my son play. I'm not his coach. I'm his dad right now. And it was embarrassing. So I finally had to just start standing down the fence line away from everybody because I despised people coming up saying, well, would you ask the coach? I said, I'm not ever going to talk to that coach. I'm going to shake his hand after the game and tell him good game, and that's it. I'm not one of those guys because I saw them and I saw the detriment they did to their kids. So,
do you think summer league baseball is bad for the? Now you coach summer league baseball,
Yes.
so this is kind of a putting you on the spot here. But I think, as someone that had one son that really did travel ball, and then my youngest son, we picked up and played a couple of tournaments afterwards. It's not a bad deal. But these parents, some of these parents, their kid has zero chance of ever playing Division I baseball or pro baseball. But they've got it in these kids' head that they play 80 games in the summer, they're going to be the next star.
No, I hate that. What I did is I had two good friends of mine, Donnie Bates and Matt McQuarrie, and two guys that I had technically coached. I coached Donnie all through high school at Archer City. Very fine athlete. And I had Matt McQuarrie when he was a seventh grader, and I was student teaching. And a funny story about Matt, he acted like he was going to be a big shot. Here I am, this 21-year-old guy coming in to be, hey, this is
Matt was the cat's me out bar-wise, too. Matt's a good friend of mine, real good friend of mine.
Yeah, and he's already a big kid.
Yeah, he was a big, mature young boy.
And I walk in, and the guy that was there, John McCluskey, introduced me. This is Coach Wolf. He's going to be y'all's all-season coach, and then y'all's going to be y'all's track coach. And so the other coach left, and I said, all right, guys, we're going to get loose first. And he said, whatever, Terry.
Whoa.
Matt said that?
Yeah. I said,
No.
and let me tell you,
Because he's not disrespectful at all as a person. That
yeah, but
shocks
he
me.
was showing out. And that was the very last time he's ever called me Terry. He still calls me coach because I made those guys get on their knuckles, like push-up position on the whole seventh grade group. They had to get on their knuckles on the gym floor for 15 minutes. Well, they're all screaming and crying, and they get up and their knuckles are all busted up. Boy, they were pissed at Matt. And I said, did you get the message straight there, Matt? Yes, sir, Coach Wolf.
Terry, that's funny.
Whatever, Terry.
So, anyway, but I coached summer ball with those guys. And what I did is I had a tryout because I did not want to be in a situation like what you talked about. And I took mainly small school kids. And then I had a parent meeting, and I just told them straight up how it was going to be. I said, I'm going to coach. I said, I'm very passionate. And what I'm doing at this time is exactly what they're going to be doing at this time. I said, we're not going to be talking about anything else. It's going to be just baseball. I said, if that's too hard for y'all, then, I understand. And it was kind of funny. Tom Wolf and Amy Wolf, great friends of mine from Windthorst, they looked at each other and said, whew, this shit just got real. And so, anyway, when I started out, those kids, man, they didn't know. And their parents was calling Matt and Donnie, and Matt and Donnie were the buffers. But you know what? By the second week, we're cutting up. Them kids are busting their butt. They're laughing. Because I'm one of those coaches that I want to chew you out, and it's going to be a good one. But the next 9 times, I'm bragging on you. Mm-hmm. The worst coaches I've ever seen are the ones that, first of all, the ones that are always just positive, and then the ones that are always negative.
Yeah.
You've got to have enough guts to discipline when it needs to be disciplined. But another thing that made ours different is I gave those kids homework assignments each week. Like you had to do something nice for a stranger. If you didn't, you're going to have 10 foul poles when you get back. I want you to be sure and watch a game, and I want you to critique a player and then bring me that. So these kids were getting into it because I wasn't just doing, they were like you had to make sure you did something nice for Mother's Day. You had to make sure you did something nice for Father's Day. I did it wasn't just baseball; it was life.
Right.
And these kids and their parents, I mean, I still get messages about how they would love to just have that one summer back again, and it was very special. So my summer ball experience was not like what, I would not let my son play summer ball because of the reason you were saying.
Are they just going? Our middle son Zach played for the North Texas Longhorns.
Okay.
And we won the Wichita Falls deal, and it was kids from Holiday, Windthorst, and 2 kids from Knox City, Zach and Jamie West. And we went to Wichita and won their league. And I know that had to piss the Wichita Falls league off. But every weekend, Zach would go to Tulsa. They'd go to Oklahoma City. It'd go this. And I was into it, but it's kind of like the people that have their first kid, those people are all in. By your second and third kid, you kind of slowed down a little bit because you understand the reality of what's going on. Or I did. Now, there are people out there that love summer ball, and they like spending it. But my opinion is we stayed at a hotel in Dallas. Remember that, Andy?
Yeah.
And there was this summer ball team there, 12 years and old. All it was a drunk fest for the dads. They were having a damn good time. And that's what they want to spend their money on. That's fine. I just don't think – I think in the long run, you're going to see some kids from them summer league programs go on and do something. But that kid that's at Dallas Oak Cliff that picks up a baseball that's a raw athlete, that's a kid that's going to be in Division I or playing pro baseball.
Well, these kids, there were none of them that had aspirations that they were going to be a professional player. What they were trying to do, they were trying to get to go play at the next level where they could get some of their school paid for. But what I was most proud of is almost every single player, I think maybe every single player was All-State in high school.
That's great.
And like today, one of them is a Navy SEAL. I mean, they have gone on. And if you don't mind me telling this little story,
no, go ahead.
Quick, but it's Donnie Bates' son. And here's this kid, where all my other players are already out in the field. And I look in there in the dugout, and there's this kid. He's going through his bag. And I said, "What the hell are you doing?" He said, "Oh, my hands are cold." I said, "I'll let you know when you can be cold. Get on the field." And Donnie and Matt are just cracking up. But all of a sudden, I hear this mom go, "Oh, my."
Oh, my.
Donnie's wife. Well, that ended up being a big deal. Like later on, it became a big joke. Like one of the kids, if somebody said something, one of the kids would say, "Coach will let you know when you can have a drink." That went on the whole time. And Colton, when he's going through his Navy SEALs training, he had having to be in this freezing water for like 20 hours.
Yeah.
And he's sitting there, and about halfway through, he just starts dying laughing. And all these guys look at him and say, "Uh-oh, Colton's lost it. He's done went off the deep end." So what's wrong with you? He said, "I'm just remembering what Coach Wolf told me." He said he'd let me know when I could be cold. So I'm just going to sit here and enjoy this. This isn't that bad. So
I bet you're as proud of him as a Navy SEAL as the guy that played in the majors.
You can't even understand how proud I am. And also, I try to make all these kids, every one of them, even all my players, one of the biggest compliments I have received is that they all still call me coach. But when I get invitation to their weddings or when they invite me to their college graduation and things like that. So I make every attempt to attend all those things because they were I was a big part of their life. They were a big part of my life. And, and I make all efforts to attend those things.
What's crazy is when Wayne Hutchinson, who's won a couple state championships, was Andy's coach. I asked him about that one time we were playing golf. I said, "Is it hard for you when the kids graduate as seniors?" He goes, "That's just all part of the cycle." Because I hold a special place for all the kids that when Andy's was growing up, I coached the 7-on-7 football and all that kid. And those kids all mean a lot to me because they're my boys. Had them in youth football, had them in youth, and they mean something to me. Well, I can't imagine being a coach at y'all's level with the kids because most of those kids you're with in small towns from 7th grade till the time they're 12.
That's right.
And then they leave, and then that's it. They're just a regular citizen, and that's the end of the deal. And there's got to be a bond with a lot of those kids that you'll have forever because a lot of those kids, you're their dad.
You're right.
You're you spend more time with them than their own parents do. A lot of them. And you're someone they trust and can come to.
Well, and you probably spend more time with them than you do your own kids.
Well, and that was the truth. And that was the main reason that I finally left this area which I love this area. Golly, I was here a long time, but I had a granddaughter. And as much as I love, because Holiday's not a place you leave unless something just big comes up. Well, having a granddaughter was big because I was no way was I going to miss all her stuff growing up like I had to miss my own kids' stuff. And as I got older, it tore me up thinking about, I missed my daughter's dance recital or whatever, or I missed my son playing junior high football and things like that. So, it really, that was a big learning thing for me.
And you don't ever get it back.
Yeah.
Time is something that steals and it never gives back. Coaches, I've had people that are teachers would bitch about coaches. Well, they make more money and they do this. Yeah, they work their fucking ass off. I'm not knocking teachers because teachers are very underpaid.
Yes.
I'm not saying that unless you live in fucking Chicago. They're very underpaid. But a coach works and he gets a stipend. What's a coach's stipend, Andy? You're on the board. $2,500 a year for sport or something?
I mean, if you're AD, you get more than that. But, I mean, it just depends on where you go.
But it's not a lot of extra money for the time you put in. And they don't understand. A teacher goes to work, the average teacher goes to work at 7:30 in the morning. And she's off at 3:30 or 4 o'clock probably. And they've got homework and stuff. And a good teacher works hard. There's no doubt about they put more hours in. I know that. I'm not knocking teachers by any means. But a coach works at 10 or 11 or 12 o'clock on a Friday night. They're in a bus driving kids home.
Or doing the kids' laundry.
Yeah.
The big schools are different. But even when I was a big school at Old High, we had 4 fucking coaches in football.
I know.
That was it. We had 4 coaches. That was for a 5A top 10 team in the state of Texas. We only had 4 coaches. You look on the sideline now, there's 70 damn coaches down there.
I know.
And it used to not be, but them coaches work lots and lots and lots of hours. And they do so many things. And when you're home sleeping in at 6 o'clock on Saturday morning, they're getting in a bus taking kids to Stephenville to an ag project or something, driving a bus. Coaches are so underpaid.
I agree, but I'm going to tell you something about the relationship between coaches and teachers. It doesn't have to be bad. Mm-hmm. The first thing I always did is I went to each teacher and I gave them a list of all the athletes. And then I had a coach beside a group of ones. I would give them that. And I said, if any of these athletes ever cause trouble in your class, all you got to do is email this coach. And this coach is in charge of discipline for those athletes. Well, you've already won the teacher's respect because now the teacher knows that, hey, if one of Coach Wolf's kids or, whatever other coaches, if they get in trouble, then they're going to have to take it up with them. And we weren't easy on the discipline. Usually we would do things like this, and then finally the kids just said, please stop doing this. Like, let's say little Johnny messed up in class. So what little Johnny would have to do, we would all talk to him right in front of the team. He would have to stand on the track. Then the whole rest of the team ran 3 quarters. Ooh. Little Johnny just sat there and watched. Let me tell you, we didn't have to deal with many problems.
Yeah. Because
when you're making your teammates run 3 quarters and all under 70 seconds, it's that kid over there just shaking like, oh my God, am I just gonna make it through practice?
we had a kid here, and I'm not gonna mention names or anything, but it was our basketball coach before, and I'm good friends with him. But anyway, the rule was if you were up and the time was about to go out, you do not take the shot. Just dribble and let the buzzer go off and shake hands. Well, this kid felt like he needed to shoot a 3-point.
He was a freshman, wasn't he?
As the buzzer was going off. And he even looked over to the coach, and coach is doing this.
Don't do it.
Don't shoot it. Don't shoot it. Shoots it, sinks it. The next day at practice, he stood at the half-court line, and his whole team did lines for about 30 minutes. I mean, the coach ran them to death. And by the end of it, that kid was sitting there on the half-court just bawling, please, just make it stop. Just make it stop. Never shot again as the buzzer was expiring if they were up. But it's what he needed at the time.
Tough love's hard sometimes.
When you coach at Holiday, and y'all have for Holiday's a school system right out of Wichita Falls, and it's a really, I'm not going to call it a rich kid school, but there's a lot of people there with a lot more money than the Wichita Falls schools does. You've kind of you've taken yourself out of Wichita Falls where their school system sucks right now, and you're going to a school system that's got really good academics, and the kids all come from pretty like-minded parents, I would
Right.
say. A lot of two-parent households.
Yes.
It's kind of a South Lake Carroll type small school deal, and it's a very, very good school system. Did you have to deal with a lot of bad parents there?
No.
Or because they all bought in on it?
No, they bought in. And with the success we were having, I mean, they had high expectations, but, you know, I like that. I mean, we'd be getting ready for 2 days, and we would get phone calls. Hey, we're planning our vacation. When's the state baseball tournament? So, we hadn't even looked at that yet.
But that's good, though.
That's a good thing. No, I mean, and it was like we went through this phase. I don't know why, but, you know, we'd bust the kids out there. But then the principals started telling us, well, we got to fill out this discipline form and mail it to the parents. Well, I had parents, the only reason they were calling me, said, please stop sending that form. I don't care when you bust my kid. You know, that was the kind of parents we had.
Right.
Well, now, there's not a whole lot of parents like that anymore. I don't even know if they bust kids at holiday anymore. I don't know that. So, but I'm saying at that time when I was there, for the 21 years I was there were no parent trouble.
That's that's one of the problems that we have with girl coaches. We'll go back to girl coaches. If a girl coach is tough, because we've had a couple of girl coaches here that were really tough on the girls, and all of a sudden,
And they had a great program.
our fat chicks, girls aren't fat chicks no more. They're all in shape because they run all the time.
Right.
They bitch and bitch and bitch, but then you look at them come Christmas time and like, wow, what happened to all the girls we used to have here? They're all thin now. It's because they ran all the time and worked hard. Every one of them girl coaches, they run off.
But
Every one of them.
But I wonder if it's because the girls go home and bitch to their
I'm
parents.
sure they
more.
do.
Whereas a young boy, like I never
Right.
bitched to my parents about coach was hard on me today or practice was tough. Like it's just okay.
You knew better. Or it was just the way that's
just-
the world we live in.
Just part of the program.
But kids now do that. Kids
Yes.
now go home. Boys.
right.
But
oh really?
Yeah.
But if you're winning, it don't matter. And that's the
Right.
problem. We don't ever keep a girl coach here long enough for a lot of these places to start winning, because I'll bet you, and I don't even know who coaches girls volleyball at Windthorst, but they used to be fucking badass for years. Every win. Now, it didn't hurt that you had a bunch of 6 foot tall German girls there, but they were good. But if that lady, Jody Conrad was our coach, wasn't
She was awesome.
okay. But when she coached there, if she made those girls do shit and those girls went home and whined to their parents, they didn't give two shits.
No.
Because you want to be part of that program, you want to win. Nazareth used to have a real good team, I think, the girls program. They don't care either. You go to
You're lucky to
Albany
be a
right
part of
now.
this program.
Yeah, Albany right now. Coach Faith, if he tells them boys to run through walls all day long,
yeah, right.
they're going to do it because, by God, that's a winning good program.
Yes, it is.
You get a new coach in and he's a hard ass and nobody wants to buy in because they haven't winning nothing.
Right.
So if you're a winning coach, you can get by with more. But today's kids is just, I don't know how they do it.
They don't have that grace period.
But kids just don't have any respect. Like, I was a judge here for 16 years. I retired. Kids would come in to me. A parent comes in to see me. I could have a 75-year-old guy come into court. Yes, sir. No, sir. Blah, blah, blah. Just respect. Just like you would if you went to court or wherever you go to. 18-year-old kid come in there. Yeah, not looking at you. Just And I would make them use manners. But kids today just do not have that instilled. But it's the parenting.
It is parenting.
I mean, it's just parents are terrible these days.
Parents do not want their kids to get hurt. They don't want them to make any mistakes. You know, the way you learn is through making mistakes. You learn through being disciplined. You learn through somebody putting you under adversity. You know, these parents now don't want their kids to do that. They don't want them going through those kind of things.
When you were a kid, how many of your friends had broken bones?
Oh, God.
You know how hard it is
there
to
was
find.
ever any that didn't.
Yeah, you know how hard it is to find a kid in elementary that's had a broken bone. Andy's youngest, Jameson, our grandson that gets into everything, fell off of monkey bars at Thanksgiving, broke his arm. I was so excited. I'm glad he's okay, but I was excited because that's a real boy. Yeah, because you just don't see much of that shit no more.
Right.
You know, they're going to tear a thumb up playing video games. You just don't have very many real kids anymore.
You know, one of the deals when I was growing up, when you had your first communion, and I have no clue why it was when you had your first communion, we would go home on this back road. It was the old Confederate road. It went by all kind of exotic animals and stuff, but then you got to a place where trees had grown over the road, so it was totally dark. You know, I'm talking about it's 11 o'clock in the morning. It's totally dark. Well, at a 10-mile point, Dad would pull over. Get out. Find your way home. I guess it was just a rite of passage because when it was my time, I was like, God dang, I'm 10 years old. He said, "Oh." So I had to find my way home. I mean, there's no way a parent would do that now.
They lock you up for it.
Yeah,
And
I guess right.
I try to be as old school with my kids as I can. Like last night, my kids playing baseball took a fastball, getting out of the way, hit it right here, and he was batting, and
He got the shit knocked out of him.
he's on the ground crying. I walk up to him. He's on the ground. I said, "Get up. There's no air down there. Stand up. Put your hands above your head." But that's just what I heard whenever I was,
Right.
there's no air down there. Stand up. Get your hands above your head and just start breathing. It'll go away. But that would have been a perfect moment where I could have coddled him, and the umpire even came up to me and he was like, "Hey, if he touches first base, you can get a pinch runner." And I'm like, "No, he'll run. He's fine." But adversity, as much as healthy adversity, like he got hit with a
Yes.
baseball, like it's not life or death. He's gonna be fine. He's fine today. He doesn't need to go sit down. But
I agree.
he's not going to learn anything if that were to happen, and then he, oh well, somebody else can take it up for me. No bullshit. You're the base runner. Finish it out.
He's 10 and under.
Yeah.
When you were 10 and under, you were playing baseball for Chuco. And Chuco was a Mexican guy in town. Great guy. Coached kid baseball. Done a great job with him. At 10 years old, he would make you guys run. I remember when y'all would have to put, during all-star practice, go put your catcher gear on. And you ran to the dugout and and he'd time you. And if you didn't do it, run. Could you imagine it with your kids you have now at 10 and under?
Well, I didn't. I had forgotten about that. So maybe next year we'll.
But do you remember that?
We'll instill that. No, I don't. I don't remember doing that.
Yes. Oh, he was on y'all about time all the time. Time. Everything was a time. Let's go. Go get your catcher gear on. You go to this. You do. Don't walk. You run. If you're gonna run to home to the center field and back. Parents sit there and watch All-Star game. Nobody complain. Them parents today would be bitching and raising hell about you. He needs some Gatorade. He's thirsty. Oh, can we stop and get him a burrito from Allsup's? I mean, parents. It's parents. It's not the kids. It's parents. But all the kids are conditioned because they don't do shit.
Right.
You don't see kids riding bikes in towns no more.
No, you don't see them climbing trees.
Nothing. That's why we don't have no broke arms. Who's the best athlete you ever coached?
Wow.
41 years.
At Archer City, first of all, I want to tell you, Archer County, in my opinion, has the hardest working kids anywhere. And they had the best parental backup of anybody.
Country kids.
Yes. And I'm talking about the Winthorpes ones I coached too.
Yes.
So I'm talking about all of Archer County. But Nicky McCork when I was at Archer City. But when you get to Holiday, my gosh, I mean, you got Zach Stewart, who threw a one-hitter when he was pitching had a perfect game till 2 outs in the 8th inning. But he was a great quarterback. He also ran on state track teams. You had Colin Leggett scored 38 touchdowns his senior year, had over 2,000 yards rushing. I mean, and then you take other guys. Oh, my God. I can't pick a all-time best athlete from Holiday. There's too many good ones. I mean, and I'm leaving out kids like Blake Nixon. Struck out 211 batters his junior year. Wow. 211. Lee Price had 63 stolen bases in one season. 63. So,
how many kids have been in the majors that you coached?
5.
5. Any of them still playing right now?
No.
They're all out now.
All out.
The Navy SEAL that you had, did you notice him being different from the other kids?
Oh yeah, right, all the way from the start.
Really? Mm-hmm. Just a mental capacity.
And that's Donnie. And that's Donnie's son.
That's Donnie's son. Not so much mentally.
Yeah.
But it became mentally when it didn't matter what kind of pressure I put on him, trying to get him to fold or whatever, never would affect him.
Right.
That's a different type of kid that could be a Navy
but
SEAL.
You could tell though. I mean, you could see it from right then when they were doing things like, just messing around and kids are wrestling and stuff. He was a no quit in him ever. And so you could just tell, hey, this guy is,
right.
That
might not be a Navy SEAL, but he's going to go on and do something in his life.
You just knew he was going to, whatever he chose to do, he was going to be really good at it.
Yeah. Yeah. Coach Mack coached under you, didn't he? Or with you?
Yeah.
He coached Coach
I
Mack.
coached him.
I knew that.
Yeah, and Coach McLemore and I are really good friends. He is a fine Christian man.
He don't have a lot of quit in him either.
No, he don't.
He administered the biggest ass chewing I had as a high school athlete. Still to like,
Coach Mack did?
yes. And it was during baseball. It was my sophomore year. I'll never forget it. Sophomore year, I'm on second base. We're batting. I'm on second base, and it's in the playoffs. I can't remember what round it was. So to tell this story, I got to back up a game. So we're in a 3-game tournament. I can't remember who it was against, but we won the first game easily.
Menard.
Second game, we're going to have a doubleheader if we lose game 2. Well, we're up game 2 by 4 or 5 runs. Can't remember exactly, but we've got a healthy lead. And they hit the ball to our shortstop, and he bobbles it, fumbles it, whatever. Maybe makes a shitty throw to first base. And I don't know how they got a bunch of high school kids to hit it to that shortstop for the rest of the game, but they did. And he fumbled every single one of them. Just routine stuff go through his legs. He'd overshoot first base.
Kid's good athlete, but cannot play on pressure.
Oh, okay.
So like he just wilted after that one error. So we lose the second game by a run or two. Now we have to play the doubleheader, and it's close. We never really. I don't even know if we had a lead, but it's a close ball game. We're in it. I'm on second base, and they hit a ball to right field, and it's not a pop fly, but it's not a line drive, and you kind of got the rule like if it's pop up, you're gonna check up, and if it's a line drive, you'll go halfway. Well, I'm like, I'll just check up on second base, and if he drops it, I'll go to third, and if he catches it, I'll still check up and run to third. No big deal. Well, the outfielder screwed me because he did not catch the ball. So now I'm sitting on second base, and I've truck it to third, slide in, and as the dust settles, Coach Mack is just on top of me. That's Bush League shit, and you should have been halfway. You should have been at home. He dropped. He didn't catch the ball, and that's a run that we're not going to get back. And I mean, he ripped my. And I thought, well, hell, I'm at third base. Like, what the hell did I do wrong? I'm here. Everybody's safe. And he chewed me up and down. And baseball, it ain't like football where you get an ass chewing and then the game moves on and like you just part ways. He's the third base coach, and I'm on third base. So he's chewing my ass. He gives a sign to the batter. He comes back to chewing my ass. I mean, and I can't go anywhere. I'm trapped on third base. And I don't think that I ever made it to home to score. And I don't remember what we lost by, but at graduate. So that's funny because we played on graduation day. Fast forward a couple hours to graduation, he comes up and apologizes for being hard. But I mean, I wasn't looking for an apology. Like,
I bet your mom's feelings were hurt.
I don't even know if anybody noticed it.
Did you ever get chewed out any other time?
I mean, just, yeah.
In football, did you ever? You're a quarterback. Quarterbacks, Wayne never got on Dandy, I don't think.
I didn't get chewed out by a coach. So, like, if Coach Mack chewed your ass out, it was like a mugging. But if Coach Hutch chewed your ass out, it was like somebody picked your pocket. You're still going to lose your wallet, but you might not get as hurt. One time we played Albany. So I got to backtrack a little bit. Played Albany my junior year. Played them my sophomore year in a non-district game. I'd broken my finger. I didn't play it. And they just whipped the shit out of us. I don't even remember what the score was. But if they'd had a 45-run rule and 11-man, that would have probably been that game in Albany. So I'm out that game. We meet them in the playoffs my sophomore year, and they just mug us. Just physically dominated us. I got my chin busted open right before halftime. Just whipped the dog shit out of us. They realigned districts my sophomore year, and lo and behold, Albany and Haskell are now in our district.
And we're half the school size they are.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
So it's like, oh, great. This is going to be a lot of fun. So they come to our house my junior year, and the playoffs is still running. Like they beat the shit out of us a couple months ago. So first play was going to be a fade to our fast running back, Z fade, and I throw a duck. Very first play. I'll never forget it. Intercepted. Well, this is a great start. So the game wears on a little bit, and the ball, it's in October, so like it's kind of getting a little bit cold, and like the ball starts to get a little bit slick. And sometime in the third quarter, I throw another shitty pass, and it gets intercepted. But the ball was legitimately, it slipped out of my hands. So come running back to the sideline, and I'm bitching because the ball's slick, and the ball boy's like drying it off. So Hutch you could tell he's disappointed. Well, an assistant comes up and he says, where's that ball at? Well, the ball boy just dried it off. So he takes it and he feels it and it's not wet anymore. And he's like, it ain't wet. You're just fucking scared. He didn't say fuck. He didn't say fuck. He just,
Was it Jeremy?
No. It's Coach Welch. He said, you're just scared. And I this is the only time I ever talked back to a coach. I said, I'm not scared. I said, that ball is wet. He just dried it off. I just saw him. And I'll never forget. He said, you're just scared 2 or 3 times. And the reason I had such a reaction is because the motherfucker was right. He called me out. I was scared shitless. That's why I had such a visceral reaction. It wasn't because he tested my manhood. It's because he was right. But I did. I kind of stood and that was the only time I ever like bucked back. At any other time I'd just be like, yes sir, no sir, and just kind of walk off. But I kind of stood my ground, like, I'm not scared. He's like, you're just scared. And then I was like, well, motherfucker, he read this one right, didn't he?
I got to tell you, I do remember the best athlete holiday.
Who's that?
His name was Mickey Peters. He didn't
I
play.
remember him.
He didn't play baseball.
His dad was a coach.
Yes.
He coached us in high school. He was,
Coach Pete Peters. They called him Pete.
no, I'm thinking of another guy that coached at Old High.
This guy.
Kid went to Tech, didn't he?
Yes, and was a starting receiver there for 4 years. He didn't play baseball, but he was our quarterback, great basketball player, and he won state 2 years in track. He was
There was a guy that was a coach at Old High that went to Holiday, and I can't remember.
Byron Gravitt.
No, this would have been back in the 80s. And I can't remember the guy's name, but he coached, and his son went to Holiday and was really a good athlete. And I can't remember who it was. It don't matter now. But
Okay.
anyways, but that Mickey Peters kid,
Yeah.
was he kin? I wonder if Mark's kin to him from Seymour.
Yes, they would be kin.
Yeah, Mark was a good athlete.
But that just hit me when he started talking about the ass chewings, because I used to rip his ass. And the quarterbacks, I always coached them, and man, I was really hard on them. And my voice carried.
Yeah.
So it sounded like I was really chewing them out, probably harder than what I really was. But my wife would sit up in the stands and she'd say, they'd look at the parents, and one of the parents would be patting one on the back saying, it's okay, it'll go by in just a little bit.
It's all out of love. There's a picture of me, and I'd have to find it, but there's a picture of me on third base when Coach Mack's chewing my ass. He's got his old fist clenched up, and I mean, he is just ripping.
He was
me.
on crutches too, wasn't he?
No, that was
The year before?
That was the year before that. Yeah, he had torn his Achilles the year before that, and there was a botch play at home plate. I don't remember when he was still in like a walking boot and had crutches. He chunks those crutches across the field and hobbles his crippled ass out to home plate to give that home plate umpire a piece of his mind.
Well, I got hired at Archer, 22 years old, to come start a baseball program. Well, they bring me up there and say, well, here's your field. It's just some dirt pasture.
Right. Yeah.
But Macklemore, Mitch, was on that team. And those kids really hadn't played any ball. But, boy, they were fast learners, and they were kids that wanted to do whatever they could. And we go to the playoffs. Mm-hmm. And the second year we do, and third year we're in state. We go to the state championship game my third year. I'm a 24-year-old coach, and we're at the state championship. But Mitch, I'll just never forget us, that team we had. Here's the guys we played in the playoffs. We played Prosper, Frisco.
All the big towns now.
Yeah, I mean, those
Right.
were the schools that we played at Archer City. That's who we played in the playoffs.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy. When you see how the dynamics have changed now.
When you were at Holiday, did you go after Don Lucy? Or was there a coach
after
between
Matt Robertson.
Matt Robertson?
Yes.
Don Lucy was before him, right?
Yes.
And Lucy ran the ball 77 out of 78 plays would run the ball.
Oh, yeah.
And Matt Robinson was the same way, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Did you run the ball all the time too when you was a
No.
head football coach? Y'all threw the ball some?
We were about 60-40.
Okay, but before you, Holiday never threw the ball.
No. Now, don't get me wrong. Sweep 8 is a play that if you're even around Holiday, everybody knows from the time they're a little kid, they could draw up Sweep 8, exactly how to block it. I mean, the boys, girls, everybody. Now, we still ran those plays. But I added throwing in, because we had some very capable quarterbacks.
Holiday had one of the best football teams to not win a state championship in the 80s. They got beat by Eastland, and
Yes.
Jay Hess, who went to A&M, was the quarterback because a friend of mine was on that team. And they were they got beat like, what, 14 to 13 or
no,
something?
it was actually a tie. They lost on penetration.
Penetrations, but it was an icy. It was real cold at Memorial Stadium. It was
Yeah.
real icy. And Holiday probably had the better football
Yeah,
team.
that was probably the best team Holiday's ever
But
had.
Eastland had the better player.
Yeah,
Yes.
but that was and actually Holiday had a chance to win at the end, missed a field goal.
Johnny Trainum was on that team. He's a friend of mine.
Okay.
Oh, he was he was older than me. I was friends with his sister, and then me and him got to be friends. He was a coach for a while somewhere.
But those kids were good.
Yeah, it was a really good football team. I mean, that was the outside of the teams from Electra, Iowa Park, and the good old high teams and the Rider teams. That was the best team out of that area in a long time.
Oh, yeah.
A Petrolia's team that won state that knocked us out when Andy was a freshman. We would have won state that year if it wasn't for them. That was the only team in the state we couldn't beat. That was one of the best teams in that area ever. I mean, you got kid who was a Division II player,
Oh, yeah.
Ross
Amazing.
Harrison, and then
Amazing.
the quarterback played Division II football,
Yeah.
and then the wide receiver played the
for
NFL.
Florida State, and
Yeah.
yeah, or University of Florida. I don't know.
Yeah,
which
David
one,
Nelson went to Florida
Yeah.
and caught the ball from Tim Tebow on the jump pass.
That's right.
And then played for Buffalo for 3 or 4 years.
But we played those guys in the kickoff classic. Man, we beat them 22-19. But I'm telling you, that was I couldn't believe these guys were 218.
Yeah, they beat us, and we were ahead of them at halftime, but they had the better players. We had I think we had better athletes than they did, but they just more of them, I guess.
Man, they could do some stuff.
Well, you find a kid in Class A football at that time, schools with 110 or 20 kids and younger, and you got a kid that can throw the ball that's
Right.
in Division II. It's hard to defend that.
Yes.
You just can't coach against that hardly. That's a hard deal.
So how are you able to implement a program so early? Like you mentioned Archer City, you're 21 years old. By 24, you're going to the state title game. I mean, I don't know how many coaches there are in Texas, but that's rare.
Yo, I was extremely fortunate. I mean, I didn't even have an assistant, and we didn't have a budget, so we didn't have hitting tees. What our kids did was drove around town and got those road cones.
Yeah.
Those were what we used for hitting tees. And, you'll see people had those soft hand things. We got ping pong paddles and I Velcroed some stuff on that. So our kids just, man, they would just do anything I wanted them to do. And I did my best, as hard as I was on them at times, but I did my best to where we had fun. Mm-hmm. We would do double steals. We would do a play where we would have a guy on first and third, and the guy on first would fall down, and so the catcher would come up and throw the ball to first, and then he'd run the second where a guy from third scores.
Right.
We would do I implemented stealing home, and the way we did it, and it made a lot of teams mad, but totally legal. What we did is we just widened our legs out as a batter, and then we would slide right through the batter's legs. And we tried it 20 times. It worked all 20 times.
Really?
In my coaching career.
Yeah?
All 20 times it worked.
And what's the sign for that? Like so the batter knows, like, hey,
Yeah.
get a wider stance.
Well, I would use squeeze. I would squeeze.
Squeeze, right?
And
Okay.
then what they would do, not squeeze. We did squeeze plays, but for this one, it was just a cap, nose, like nose. No, it's about to be on. And then they had to tip their helmet to me,
To know-
and the
to-
guy on third had to tip his cap.
Right.
And so then they both knew. And then, we would check, and as soon as the batter moved up a little bit and widened his legs, then the guy on third knew, hey, it's on.
We're going. Mm-hmm. And so the batter doesn't get out of the way, so
No.
the catcher doesn't even know anything's really going on.
No, catcher only hears what's going on, and then even to try to make a tag, he's got to go through our batter.
Right.
Well, our batter has the right to stand in the batter's box. And so we did that, and I caught a lot of hell because other coaches, that isn't legal. Bull. That's just wolf rules. I don't know how many times I heard that. Those are just wolf rules.
Just wolf rules.
Yeah, and because I got accused of a lot of things because, like, we were playing for the district championship. It's the third inning. We're already ahead 10-0, and it's the bottom of the third. Well, I told them we forfeit our turns to bat. They get to bat again. Well, umpire said, I said, no, we forfeit them. So then they go up and bat again, the fourth, and they get out. And then now it's the fifth inning. I say we forfeit our bottom of the fourth, and they said, "Coach, you got to bat." I said, "No, we're not batting." And then they go and they hit again in the fifth. We get them 1, 2, 3, and game's over. And then all of a sudden, it came a turd floater. Well, if I hadn't have done that,
Right.
we wouldn't have got the game finished, and we would have had to start over. And so I got a call from the head of the whole head of the officiating crew, said, "We're not going to be implementing these wolf rules just anytime you feel like you want to do them." I said, "Hey, there's nowhere in the rule book." He said, "Yeah, but you're taking advantage." I said, "I'm just doing what's best for my players."
Right.
And so a lot of people got mad at me about things like that.
But of course, you're going to use these things to your advantage.
Yes, I did too. And our kids loved it that we did these kind of things. They would love that they were on the team that was doing these kind of things. And so, and I was so ate up with being a head football and head base, because I became a head football coach at 25 also. So, you're doing AD, head football, head baseball. It eventually, especially at holiday, when you're playing in December every year, then you're playing baseball in June every year, and then as soon as you get home from the state tournament, you're starting summer workouts.
Right.
It takes a toll on you, and that's when I finally said I'm done. I was getting worn down. I just decided I was going to take a year off, and that was when I made up my mind I was going to move down. But I was just so fortunate because of my hunger to try to learn so much, and I was very fortunate that people that were really big in the game did not mind taking time talking with me. So that's why I've tried to always make myself available for guys like Jeremy West, any of these other coaches. Jeremy and I did coach together, but boy, I made sure that anytime he ever had a question, or any coach, if I respected this guy, if I respected that coach, any coach, I would take my time and help him with situations, because I felt like people had done that for me.
Well, Jeremy's a good guy.
He is.
He was like the fun uncle on the coaching staff.
Yeah.
Like, because he coached in, or he taught in O'Brien, which was it was where junior high was for our school district. So like I never had him in class. So like he did junior high football. So like I'd only see him on Wednesdays at practice, but he was so fun, and he connected with a lot of kids. But I tell you what, Jeremy West has a reputation of being a videotape Nazi, because he was in charge of Saturday morning going to meet the opposing team and handing film. Well, if you showed up to Jeremy West meeting and you did not have what y'all had agreed upon, Jeremy West said, "Fuck it. I'm taking my tapes and I'm going back to Knox City."
I can see that.
And he had a notebook, so he would trade films. So they would they'd kind of get a game plan on like how everything's shaking out, who we might see in the playoffs. Well, he would just start bartering films around. So like by the time we played somebody in the playoffs, we had their whole, because it's not like it is now where everything's on huddle.
No, it was tough.
Like you had film of whatever you got. So he'd trade 2 films to this team to get one from this team to get another one from that team. And he had everything in a spiral notebook. He had what he did, and I mean, he was meticulous about it. But if you got to a meeting and you didn't have what you had agreed upon, sorry.
Very highly intelligent.
Oh, he's a smart man. You know what they did at the big school at Old High? Coach Tyler and them would take the films, and I'm sure Coach Tyler did one of this. This did take it to the Greyhound bus
Yes,
barn.
yeah. When I started coaching, that's how it was.
Yep, and they would put that film on there, and then they would pick up the film. Like if we're playing Amarillo, that's how you got your film. They didn't meet halfway; they put it on a bus.
It's crazy.
Yep,
I mean, that's how it was.
So the bus would roll into town, and you would just go get your film off of the
Meet
bus.
them and get the
People
film.
would ship stuff like you would a courier on Greyhound buses.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I didn't either until then. But they would have their deal. It had a metal thing, and Coach Tyler and them would pull out their film.
That was
and
one
on
of my
Saturday
first
morning,
jobs.
they'd have their films.
On like after games on Friday night, was taking that film to the bus station and making sure it got on there.
I think Texas high school football was so far ahead of the curve compared to other states at the time. I'm sure a lot of them changed deals, but in the 70s and 80s, that was a common practice in
Yes.
Texas, and I don't think other states was that way. I mean, it was You know, was it football used to say it's not life or death, it's more important than that. And that's a lot of truth to that in every town.
But that goes back to what you were saying about young coaches. Like, here you were, game's over, it's Friday night. You probably want to go home and go to bed. And now you got to make sure film gets.
That was my responsibility.
Right.
I mean,
but you tell a young coach now, hey, game's over, and now I need you to hit the road and make sure this film gets to where it needs to go. They're going to be like, fuck.
Did you ever wash a uniform in your life?
oh my God.
That's another thing, young coach. Do the young coaches don't realize that?
Yeah, well,
you better learn how to do laundry.
That's some of the reasons why I got rid of so many of them. I just despise that entitlement. Now you'd get lucky and get a guy like Brendan Whitaker, who was way ahead of his time, and now he's a 6A coordinator.
Is that the kid from Iowa Park?
Yes.
I sat in front of him at a baseball game one time and talked to him. Real nice kid.
Oh my God, he was one of the two hardest working players I've ever had. Was a kid named Chris Sadbury who went pro, and then the other one was Brandon Whitaker. Oh my God, those guys worked hard. Chris Sadbury is the only guy that Tim Tadlock at Texas Tech, he's the only guy that he ever had to bar from the weight room. He said he's never. He called me and told me, he said, "I don't know what you did to this kid, but he said I can't get him out. I've had to just take the kid's key from the weight room away from him."
I'm gonna work out all the time.
All the time. And of course, he was an All-American pitcher, you know.
Right.
Who's the greatest athlete you ever coached against?
Against? Mm-hmm. Oh, good God. Johnny Lamb Jones. Well, no, I was in high school then.
You played against him, though?
In high school, I ran track against him. Oh, my God.
For people that don't know, he was at UT. He was famous. There was Johnny Lamb Jones from Lampasas.
And Johnny Ham
and Jones from Hamlin. Yes.
Well, when Johnny Lamb was in high school, you know, it was embarrassing when we're both in long jump together, and I was so ingrained in my mind because I'm a junior, he's a senior, and I pop off a 22:10. Well, crap, that's good enough to win most meets. So, you know, I'm just going to sit back. Well, Johnny Lamb shows up. He didn't even take a run through. I'll never forget, they measure off 100 foot 6 inches. His stride was so perfect. Johnny Lamb Jones hops 24 foot, hits the end of the deal, so his coach won't let him jump anymore. Like, they had a board back there at the end of the pit. You know, he's done. So I thought, well, I'm done too. I can't beat him.
He went to the Olympics, though, didn't he?
Yes, sir. As an 18-year-old, right out of high school. Ran on the gold medal sprint relay team.
And he was on the teams with Earl Campbell.
But you ran a 9-100.
Whoa.
Yes.
That's booking it.
Didn't he play? He was the first round pick for the Jets, wasn't he?
Yes.
That's what I was thinking.
He was an amazing athlete.
One kid from Lampasas and one from Hamlin. That's crazy.
But coaching against, I've coached against, like playing against Canadian in the state semifinals in football. We got them beat. The game's over. And they got a guy named Doug English who was a 4-year starter at Oklahoma at defensive end.
Preacher's kid.
Yeah. And he ends up scoring a touchdown with no time left. And, you know, it's just heartbreaking. Oh, that was one of the hardest things to ever get over in football. And in baseball, this Johnny Levinsky, I can't think of the other guy's name now. He's a 6'11" pitcher. It was a first-round draft pick also. But this guy was throwing 95 in high school and had an unbelievable breaking pitch. But our kids at Holiday, what we did is, you can't get ready for a 95-mile-an-hour fastball. So we put anybody that could just volunteer for us. That whole 2 days, we put the screen 45 feet away and had them throw as hard as they possibly could. And even elevated it a little bit to make them look like they're 6'5", like he was 6'5". And so, oh, God. And then against Mart, we played against the linebacker that went and played strong safety for the Cowboys for a long time. Played against him. Oh, I mean, there were so many great athletes that we played against. It was so fun, though. God, it was fun.
Do it all over again, huh?
Yeah, I would. I would do it a little differently, though. I'm not sure I would be the head coach of everything.
Recruiting's big in football and baseball, I'm sure.
Yes.
And especially the kids from around that area. You try to bleed kids out of Wichita Falls, which is easy now because the school district sucks so bad. You didn't lose very many kids to Wichita Falls, though, did you?
Yes, I lost a lot of
You did?
great players that went to Ryder.
because they had a better chance to get a Division I scholarship.
And
They
that's,
thought.
you know, even though we went to state during that kid's high school career 4 straight years, and we had kids getting drafted and stuff, even though, you know.
So like Hargrove was getting your kids.
Yeah, but it was mainly because they were football players too. So some of those coaches were getting them because they were really good defensive backs, and then they'd play baseball, you know. And none of them, well, only one of them went there straight for baseball. So, but Hargrove and I were really good friends. So it was, you know.
That always kills me. All the good old high players went to Ryder and coached.
Yeah, they did.
All of them back, which things were different because they went to that choice program, which I
Yeah.
think was the first step in screwing up Wichita Falls' athletics, because they've had a lot of really good athletes lately. Lots of good athletes
Yes,
have come
they
out of Wichita
have.
Falls. I mean, there's a couple kids playing in the pros right now, baseball. Any of those kids play for you ever? That are there now? That Brazier kid play for you ever?
No, well, that's the only thing I ever got to do with Braziers. Those guys would throw in our gym whenever I would let. It was pretty awesome, but I would let those guys because we had Zach Stewart playing in the pros then, but Brazier and then that other Armstrong, I think's his name. Or anyway, there would be 3 professional pitchers in there throwing in our gym, and our catchers got to go catch them.
Anderson, maybe.
Anderson, that's who it was. Those guys would be in there throwing, and we would I'd let the holiday catchers go in there and catch them, and that was just a cool deal, you know.
Yeah.
They got to actually see professional players right there doing that
I
stuff.
think Brazier kid's playing for the Sox again. isn't
Yes.
he? Yeah, I know his uncle now.
Well, those guys were great players, man.
What was your philosophy? Because now you're seeing like this specialty type player where they only play one sport. What do you think about that?
I hate it.
Yeah.
I'm an all sport guy. I mean, I went to a 5A school and I played 4 sports. Now, granted, even when I was in high school, there was only me and one other guy that played 4 sports. You were lucky if anybody played 3. But now when they're trying to get them to do that, and even coaches are trying to get them, and I saw one of the school's philosophy deals where you couldn't play more than 2
I
sports.
saw at the new schools in Wichita, they wanting people to sign up for what sport they want to play, and that's stupid as hell.
I'm not big on that. I mean, I look. You look right now at the best pro football players and the best pro baseball players. When they list what sports they played, you'll never see them that they played baseball year or
Right.
hardly ever.
Right.
And in football, you never see a kid that just played football.
I saw the statistics on the kids' first round draft picks, and I think out of 32 kids, 31 of them played 3 sports or something. I mean,
Yeah.
it was really crazy.
Right.
But is it fair if you got an all-state wide receiver, because that's your best athletes now in high
Yes.
school are playing
Yes.
wide receiver and defensive backs probably.
It's a new running back.
Yeah. So you got your stud wide receiver out there, and he's a great athlete, big kid, little, it don't matter, just a stud athlete. And it comes baseball season, and the kid plays baseball. Why do you not want him on your baseball team? I mean, the kid's
that's what I'm
all
saying.
state All-American football player, he's an athlete or track. You know, ours was different out here at Knox City because Wayne and them made everybody play everything just about. You signed up for everything to be part of it,
For sure, track. Like if you were going to play football in the fall, you were going to run track in the
Yeah.
spring.
just
Right.
for competing and good for you.
Well, and see, with me being the athletic director, it was easy because if you're going to play baseball, everybody runs track during the athletic period. So it wasn't any big deal. Everybody ran track.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I saw a guy that plays in the NBA yesterday, and I'm not an NBA guy, but and I don't even know who the player was. Had a picture of him, basketball fans. He said yesterday that nobody playing in the NFL could be playing in the NBA. None of them. He said there ain't no player in the NFL that's good enough to play in the NBA. But he said there's 70% of the people in the NBA can play in the NFL, and I don't buy that.
No.
I believe 10% of the guys in the NBA could probably play in the NFL. 6'4", 5 guys make damn good receivers.
Yeah.
But it's such a physical. Those guys are thin. I mean, they're not big enough and strong enough to play in the NFL, I don't think.
now maybe if they played during Larry Bird's time,
Right.
I
Yeah,
might
yeah.
agree with that stat, but not now.
No, I don't think there's anything close to it. But I do believe that there's not very many NFL players that could play in the NBA.
No. But you know what else? They can't play pro baseball.
No.
You know, look at the unbelievable athletes like Michael Jordan and Danny Ainge, these guys that tried, but they could play pro basketball, but they couldn't play pro baseball.
I guess
you know?
Bo
Deion.
Jackson is the best,
And and Deion Sanders were the 2 best.
and Deion wasn't near as good a baseball player as Bo was.
No.
But
no,
Bo
he
said he tried to elevate his game so much because Dion was doing it.
Bo was a better athlete than Dion.
Well, sure, but
but I'm just telling you. But to be able to play professionally 2 sports, God,
both those guys are extremely talented. I'm not knocking nothing away from
Right.
Dion. Dion is not the greatest football player like he thinks he is,
I
though. He could never make a tackle. But he was a great cover guy.
don't tell him that.
Well, it's the truth, though.
but he did.
He was never known for tackling anybody. He was really good at what he did.
And Dion's even said, because I can't remember who was talking to him, but he said, what sport was easiest to you? And he said it was football by far. And they said, well, what sport was hardest? He said it was baseball. So there's no way. Like,
Hitting a baseball's tough.
It's a round bat and it's a round ball, and you got to square it up. Like, it's the most difficult thing to do in sport.
It is.
Bo's arm strength is what was absolutely
Oh, my
amazing about
gosh.
him. He could throw a fucking baseball outside of, he could throw it out of Yellowstone. He could throw it at any park in the world from the fence to the home plate that quick.
I'll never forget George Brett, great player for Kansas City. George Brett said when Bo Jackson was a rookie, he said he just couldn't believe he felt like a little kid. He's peeking around the corner to see, how well built he was and everything.
He's a stud.
He said he doesn't work out anymore. I just recently saw something. He's got a home gym decked out, all the new equipment. He's like, honestly, it was like Men's Health that went to interview him. He said, my wife dusted all this equipment off before you guys came.
Did he finally get rid of his hiccup problem? He had it for over a year.
Oh, he was just hiccuping all the time?
Yeah. I
didn't know that.
It almost killed him.
Really?
Yeah. And I hadn't heard anything else about it. So
He made it through this interview, all
He's
right?
a smart man because he had to have that surgery,
Yes.
but he got out relatively healthy.
Yes.
Earl Campbell breaks my heart to see him
Oh, my
anymore. He's in a
gosh.
wheelchair and stuff. And Earl Campbell, to me, is the greatest college running back ever.
oh God.
I mean, but because it was, well, Billy Sims I saw the other day was the first player taken in the draft. Running backs were such a big thing to have then, and Earl Campbell was the man's man at the time. Took a team. Houston was not very good. Had a coach, old school coach,
Yes.
and they ran him to death.
To death.
What a football player, though. Gosh almighty.
I remember the bum was asked one time, and Dilly said, well, don't you worry about Earl Campbell? He's always getting up so slow. He said, yeah, he gets up slow, but it takes him a long time to get tackled, too. So,
He was an amazing football player. I don't think we'll ever see NFL have running backs as important like that.
No.
Because Derrick Henry, I'm not a Dallas Cowboy fan. Everybody that listens to this knows that. I cannot stand the Dallas Cowboys. I got a lot of respect. I like Dak a lot. I think Dak gets a lot of shit. I think he's a whole lot better than he gets credit for. But Dallas was fools to not try to sign Derrick Henry.
yes.
That was dumb as could be. I don't. And bringing Zeke back, I don't think's a bad move. But Zeke don't have nothing left in the tank. I mean, he had a couple of good games with New England, but if that's what you're putting it in, you're giving up your running game for the year.
So how do guys hit these 100-mile-an-hour fastballs? Because I just saw, like, I think I'm looking at it right now. It's like 0.4 seconds. You've got to make a decision. You've got to distinguish what the pitch is, and if it's good enough or not for you to swing at.
I'm not sure you have that long now with 100. I think with a 100-mile fastball, it's like 3.75, which,
Right.
okay.
Well,
so-
this says at 90 miles an hour.
yeah,
So
yeah, but there's a big difference between 90 and 100. But the whole first 1.75 tenths has got to be spent on determining the pitch.
Fastball, curveball, slider, what it is.
Yeah, but here's where they've added in to make it so hard is now they've added this, like the drop ball, which looks exactly like a fastball, but it's coming in instead of at 100 at 80, and then it's falling off the table, or a changeup, which also looks like a fastball. Since they've added those pitches in, now it's extra hard. Picking up the curveball is fairly easy because usually what you can do is, you train yourself just to watch the release point. You don't watch all of his movement. You take your eyes from the letter on the cap, you slide it over to the release point because you don't want to spend you want your time focusing on one thing. The ball, when it's a curveball, will jump up off the hand.
Right.
Okay? When it's a fastball, it comes straight out. Okay? So that gives you a jump on that. So now you got 2 full tenths of a second to load and hit. But like I said, now they've added these other 2 pitches in. So, and then pitchers also do these things. They throw that big sweeping curveball right at you. Mm-hmm. And I don't care what you do. When this guy's throwing 100 and the ball's coming right at your head, it's hard to stay in there,
Yeah.
So I don't know. That's why, in my opinion, they are some of the greatest athletes in the world because of that.
What about like Mike Scott when he pitched for the Astros? We had the split finger fastball.
Yes.
You don't hear about that no more.
No.
Is it because it was bad on the arm?
No, it's not bad on the arm.
Then why don't people throw it no more? Because it was unhittable.
They call it, he said, what'd you call it? Well, a splitter, not a splitter, but you called a
Slider?
no, not a slider. But now it's like what I'm calling like the drop.
We're
ball.
dropped.
Yeah.
But that's what it did. But it was at 90 miles an hour.
It is that pitch. But it's not hard on the arm at all. The reason why kids and people are having this Tommy John surgery and all that stuff is because they were doing all this 80 games a season.
Yes.
And instead of taking 2 or 3 months off, they're just picking it up a month later. That's why by the time these guys are young, and you're seeing so many of them happen in college now and stuff, there's so much overthrowing by the time they're in the major league level now.
Why don't we have more Tim Wakefields and Charlie Huffs?
Or Nolan Ryan's. Oh, you talking about knuckleball?
Knuckleball, junk ball.
I don't know.
Because that's good on your arm. It doesn't hurt your arm.
No, it doesn't. I don't know why. I don't know if it's just not cool.
Is there not very many old men that know how to teach them how to throw it anymore?
Well, it's fairly decent, easy to teach, but it's not the movement like those guys had. Those guys can make it do all kind of things, you know. Yeah, I don't think there's anybody can teach it.
That's because like Tim Wakefield couldn't pitch until he threw the knuckleball.
Yes.
And then he became a staple and then he made a lot of money.
Then the Necro brothers pitched a long time. But, you know, there'll never be another Nolan Ryan.
No.
There'll never be another Randy Johnson, who, you know, these guys pitched well in their 40s and stuff, and we're still throwing.
What was the black guy that pitched for the Cardinals that was so good forever?
Bob Gibson?
Bob Gibson. I saw a statistic the other day. He threw more complete games than like 15 franchises last year combined did. And that was a normal deal. He'd throw a 12-inning game sometimes.
Yeah. Well, Nolan Ryan threw one game to 235 pitches.
Wow.
In one game.
Oh. What do they try to pull him out at 100 now, don't they?
Oh,
100's kind of the threshold.
100, and that means if you're pitching well, you might get to the 7th, you know.
Right.
Because at a high school kid, you're hoping in the 7th he gets 105. You know, that's what you hope, because for a high school breakdown is 15 pitches an inning. Mm-hmm. Okay, the pros use the same breakdown.
Right.
So you try to limit your kids to 90 pitches?
No, I mean, well, if I'm fortunate enough to win in 6 innings, but no, I would give my kids 105 pitches. I know they get 110, but...
Oh, they have a rule on UIL, hasn't it? Mm-hmm. Okay, I'm going to ask you about the UIL, because you're a retired coach.
Okay, yes.
I think the UIL is the same as the Gestapo and the NCAA. I really do. I don't understand why they've given so much. They get way, way too much power to them.
Boy, they do have it.
And I think it's a bullshit deal. I don't like a lot of the things they do. I don't like the thing that kids can be homeschool kids and play basketball in the tournament. I think that's bullshit. The UIL should govern public schools. And that's all that you should be able to compete for a championship is if you're a public school.
Right.
Every coach agrees on that.
Yes.
But they let these jackasses in Austin get by with that stuff, just like the NCAA. Well, the NCAA is about done.
What's the basketball rule? I'm confused about that.
Well,
the private
like
school,
charter schools.
Charter schools get to play in the state tournament. I mean,
really?
Stanford lost the year Stanford won state in football and got beat in the state finals in baseball. They would have probably won state in basketball, but they got beat by a charter school.
Faith Family, and now that Faith Family was playing at that level. Now they've moved them up to 4A, and they're still winning by enormous amounts.
It's a basketball academy for guys that are going to go to Duke and North Carolina, and they just go to these.
And they're phenomenal.
And it's not a fair deal.
No, it's not fair at all.
But the UIL some reason lets them do this shit, and they have so many stupid rules and stuff they go by. The transfer portal. If you are in one act play, you can go from one school to another school, and there's nothing to it. But if you play football, you can't do that. And NCAA is about done. College football is going to get removed. The NCAA, and I think they know it's coming. They're going to try to hold on as long as they can, but eventually the SEC and the Big Ten, there's going to be 4 big conferences of college football, and they're going to tell the NCAA to go piss off. They can take care of everything else, but football is going to be their own animal.
I hate to see it, but I'm afraid that's what's happening.
Yeah, we're looking at it. The NIL is killing college sports.
Yeah, oh yes,
but the UIL, who does the governing body in Texas, is the same way. Way too much control over stupid stuff. And the stupid rules, like if a coach gets thrown out of a ball game now, you got to go down to a board, don't you?
Yeah.
Let your school board, let your local school board handle that. You're on the school board. You should be able to tell your coach if he does something that's embarrassing or wrong.
Yeah.
I don't think it's rely on a bunch of damn liberals in Austin to make decisions on.
I mean, to me, and this is unbelievable, and I never got ejected from a football or baseball game. I never even got a 15-yard flag. So that's what, I mean, that's kind of, people don't have a hard time accepting that if you ever saw me coach. But, you know, in my opinion, I didn't even think it should go to the school board. I thought the superintendent ought to handle it.
But it should be handled in-house.
Yes, in-house. Now, if it was a second-time offender,
Yeah.
that's a little different. Now we go school board. A third-time offender, in my opinion, there should be no such thing as a third-time offender. The coach should be kicked out by the board or whatever. But I just don't believe in a third-time offender.
The UIL does some of these stupid things. Like you'll see a kid that moves for athletic reasons, but his family moves there and they live in that town. That kid ought to be able to play sports in town. If your family's willing to get up and move, and you can call it the old Breckenridge, the Odessa Permian rule, whatever you want to do it. Odessa Permian was famous. They see a kid in Dallas that was a real good athlete. Dad come from a family and all the money. His daddy'd get a job at an oil company making $70,000 a year, and he'd move his family to Odessa.
Right.
If he's willing to move to Odessa with his family, he should be able to play sports.
I agree.
And I don't. But then you'll hear about a rule that they'll make a kid eligible when it shouldn't be. And then there's some poor kid whose mom got a job somewhere and they had to move, and nope, he's moving just for athletic reasons. And I've seen that happen out here locally a couple of times. And I think the UIL's got way too much power on stuff.
Boy, they do have a lot of power. They're probably the most powerful board in Texas. I mean,
Oh, yeah, there's no doubt. And they control, and the playoffs are so watered down in all sports now. But it's because of extra money.
it's all about money.
Yep, those football games. Who wants to go see a 2-8 play in a
Right.
5A or 6A
In the
football
first
deal
rounds and
against
stuff,
a
yeah.
team that's ranked number 1 in the nation, and they're going to get beat 77-0? But they play that game for that extra money.
Because how many do they take? How many do they take now? They take 4, don't they?
And some of those districts only have 6 teams.
Well, when I was,
And there's some districts only have 4 teams now.
Yeah, and they're all going to get. A couple of years ago, Ryder went to the semifinals one year, and they'd won 2 regular games. And I think Old High made the semifinals 2 years ago, and they'd only won 3 regular season games. But then they got hot at the right time and played good defense.
Right.
But it just does not make sense.
there was 5 in my district, I think, when I was in school, and they only took 2
Yep.
back
Yes.
in those days.
Now
They
it's-
took the district champ and the runner-up.
Right.
And that's when I was in high school. My freshman sophomore year, only the district champs went. That was it.
That was tough.
Yeah, because there was
So there's only like 3 rounds of playoffs or something?
4 rounds then.
It was extremely difficult. I mean, I played on some great teams, but you lose one game and you're through.
Yep, you're done.
Right,
You're
you're
watching.
through.
Ryder and Mesquite played in the 60s when Darren Water, who's the Archer City guy,
Right.
he was one of the greatest football players to come out of Wichita Falls. He went to Ryder, and Joe Bob, who was our coach at Old High, went to Ryder, and he coached them, and they got beat in Mesquite like 14-13 or something. And twice Darren Water broke for touchdowns and the lights went out in the stadium. You've never heard that story before?
never heard
Yeah, he broke for a big run and the lights went out in the stadium. First they got there and the field was flooded. It hadn't rained in 3 months. And they'd kept the sprinklers on for 3 or 4 days because Ryder could run the ball. They got there and the water was ankle deep in the mud, and he broke for a touchdown. The lights went out. And I think in the second half, 3rd or 4th quarter, he broke another long run. The lights went out and they'd call it back. And it was just home cooking, but only one team went. Mesquite went. I think Mesquite might have won state even that year. But that was the 2 best teams in the state, but they were in the same district. And it was one and done. But I think 2 teams is fine. I think 4 teams is ridiculous.
It's tough.
Well, just gets your product gets watered down.
But here's why I have a hard time with saying much about it. But I've seen districts where the top 4 teams are better than anybody in the district are about to play.
No, there's no doubt about that.
You know, and so from that aspect,
It makes sense.
if I was the guy in that district and got 4th because we're so good, but I can go beat the district champ of that other team, in that aspect, it looks good. But when it's like what he's talking about, where you're 1-9, but you won the right game, so you make the playoffs, but now you're about to play the number 1 ranked team. I just don't like that.
Like the Fort Worth schools. Fort Worth has
Oh,
terrible
yeah.
high school football.
Yes.
They might have a couple of teams that are okay, but Fort Worth Northside gets 4th in their district. They're going to get beat 70-0.
Yeah.
I mean, they're not any good, and that happens when you were in your junior year.
Junior year,
Andy,
I was gonna say.
Rotan, us, Haskell, all 4 were all top 10 teams in Class
Mundy.
A. Well, Monday wasn't even in the top 4. They were 5th, but they were good too. But every team in our district was a really good team. Well, Haskell and Albany both made it to the quarterfinals or semifinals. We were the 3rd place team and got sent home.
We were 8-2 and stayed at home.
And didn't even get to go.
No, and would have probably won 2 or 3 playoff games. You'd have had to get to the quarterfinals or semifinals to beat us. But it was just happened to fall that way. But man, can you imagine some of these 6-man schools, their 3rd and 4th team making the playoffs?
No, they don't do it in 6 men.
No, thank God.
Oh, yeah,
because
okay.
it was terrible.
Yeah. Yeah, they just do 2 teams in
And that's
6 men.
plenty,
Yes.
usually.
Yes,
You
it
coached
is.
6-man also, didn't you? Mm-hmm. What was that like going from?
It was a learning experience.
Was it?
The first game I saw, I'm coaching. And so
Oh, really?
yeah, I watched a little bit on film, and I thought, man, I'm coaching the defense. I said, I can do this. And so, man, first 2 series, we stop them. And I'm feeling bad.
You're changing the whole game, huh?
Yeah, I've already found a way to do this.
I'm
And then-
rewriting the history
then the
of the
next
6-man.
play, they send a center straight down the field.
Oh.
Like, what are you doing? I'm raising hell. And they said, no, they can go out for a pass. So I didn't. Somebody should have told me that rule.
I would like to see Texas get away from so much 6-man and go to 8-man. Because especially
8-man's cool.
Especially these schools with 100 kids playing 6-man football. I think it would get more kids out. The bigger kids could play, and it's more like regular football.
Right. It is.
I'm not a 6-man fan. I've been to very few 6-man games that were really good, nail biting games, and there's not very many of them. They're usually all
And
blowouts.
if it is, it's on offense.
Yes.
But by the 3rd year that I coached 6-man, we played for the state semifinals that year. We got beaten in the state semifinals. Our defense didn't give up a touchdown till playoffs
Whoa.
because I finally figured out now how to cover the center. And I was bringing 3 guys. I was bringing the house. Well, 3 guys rushing, and they got 2 guys to block. Somebody's getting through to the guy that is throwing. And now I'm manned up on all 3 guys. And 2 of these guys, sometime I would have them peel off and cover the backs. Well, nobody could figure it out. And then we get in the state semifinals, and we play this giant team. Got foot to foot, Jonesboro. They got foot to foot, and they ran sweep right, sweep left. And we held with them. I mean, every drive took them to 4th down, but in 6-man football, you're going to make yards. And
Oh,
so-
yeah.
But man, that was fun.
So your philosophy was send 3, and then the other 3 guys, they can account for whoever's out there.
Yes. And it worked, and it worked, and it worked, and it worked.
Until it quit working.
And it finally quit working. But we had not faced. Everybody was trying to throw the ball, I mean, they were in this spread stuff. It was awesome against the spread. When it was tight deal, you're going to get into a score fest because it's hard to stop people that can still run the ball.
What always got me the first time I went to a game, it's like 3rd and 1, and then they snap the ball 15 yards back. I'm like, you just gave up 15 freaking yards to gain a yard. Just give it to fullback up the middle.
Well, see, that was my whole deal. I was still 11-man base, so I'm thinking, okay, he's doing that. I mean, if he tries to throw a pass, it's not going to make it back to the line of scrimmage. We'll tackle him. So,
It's a different game than
Yeah,
football. It's
it
not
is.
regular. And Coach Steele and me have argued about this about all the time. It just drives me crazy because I'm like, listen. Then my thought process is, if you got a kid that can throw the ball, really can throw the ball, set him back 15 yards, punt snap it to him, let him roll out and throw the ball because you can't cover those kids.
no,
He's like, you can't do that all the time. There's got to be a way if you got the right kid that can throw
if
the
you
ball.
have the right kids.
But I've noticed the last couple of years the teams have won the state championships. A lot of them are running these
Yes.
they tight offenses. That they spread them out, but it's tight offenses is what seems to win. The big physical kids.
Like Benjamin's doing that.
Well, they have a couple of superior athletes.
They have.
That Rigdon kid's a really special athlete.
He is an athlete.
I saw where he is committed to Arizona Air Force, but I don't know if he's going to be there next year. They don't know where he's going to go.
Oh.
But the kid's 3 years into football. He's
Never lost a game, I don't think.
never lost a game, 3 state championships. He's been offensive MVP, defensive MVP, state player of the year 3 years since he's a freshman. And he's a better basketball player than football player, I think.
I saw him play in the state tournament. He was good.
He can shoot the ball. He can flat shoot
He's just
the
an
basketball.
unusual, a unique athlete.
And he's not big. I thought he was bigger than he was. He's not a real big
No.
kid. 6 foot maybe 180 pounds, but he's a damn good athlete. But
Great
he's one of
balance.
those kids that's very mature for his age. Physically, I don't know
Right.
about mentally. I don't know much about the kid, but physically, He's a very, I mean, he could go to any school and play ball. There's no doubt about that. You know, I don't know what he'd contribute. I don't know if he went to Ryder and stepped on, if he would be a starter even, but he might be. But six man to 5A football is a big step.
Yeah, well, there's very few that could.
No, that's what I'm saying. That's a big step. Do you had no aspirations to coach college baseball ever?
No, got offered New Mexico State and went up there and talked. And after I saw how much time was spent recruiting and then you'd have to watch videos and then try to go watch that kid all the time while trying to do something over the summer. So a lot of times, if these kids didn't play summer ball, the only thing you ever had on them was video. You know, and you'd have to bring them in and work them, have a private tryout. I just didn't want to do all that.
Recruiting's a big part of that game.
Yeah,
too.
I know, and I think I'd be good at recruiting. That's one of the things that I do now is not recruit, but I go talk to schools and stuff now. Like motivational things, you know, or whatever. But the biggest thing that I've ever got to do in that aspect is I got to speak to Midland Lee football team and their parents before they played Odessa Permian for the district championship.
Well, that's cool.
That was a huge deal for me.
Yeah, it's a big moment.
Especially when I saw George Bush had been the speaker the year before for this thing. And so I got to do it, and it was a great thing to stand on the sidelines and, you know, with those guys because it kind of felt like Friday Night Lights, you know,
Yeah.
that movie and stuff. So that was a good deal.
So you went to the game too?
Oh, yeah.
20,000 people. Used to be on TV live too.
It was cool. I mean, it was fun.
Is the money in college baseball like it is in college football?
Well, here's where you get a lot of the money. The head coach makes decent money.
Well, I meant for
That's
the
why
players.
players, the
Like
NIL.
the
Oh,
NIL.
players, no.
No.
You got to hope that you're lucky enough to get some kind of Nike or somebody to pick you up.
So
no.
Paul Skeen was not making millions of dollars like whoever's the quarterback at LSU. Jaden Daniels was making more money playing football at LSU than
Yes.
Paul Skeen was.
Yes. And see, the guys in football, you're on full scholarship. In baseball, even if you're Division I, you're on a quarter scholarship. If you're lucky, you might be on a half scholarship. So what you do to get all your other money is you have the camps and stuff and work those. And that's where you make your other money.
Right.
But the NIL money is not near, you know, what it is in baseball.
Baseball doesn't bring in, and I'm not knocking baseball,
No.
but it's not a profitable sport. I just saw yesterday the WNBA is going to take charters for their girls now to fly. They're setting aside $50 million for charters to fly. They lost $12 million this year. Is Joe Biden running the economy for the damn WNBA? I mean, they're going to commit $50 million because to make it equal and fair. Yeah, because the men's league is paying for your league. You don't make any money. Now, Caitlin Clark is changing that.
She is.
And I hate girls sports, not a fan of girls sports at all. I'm happy for her. She's really going to be good for the WNBA, but I think the newness is going to wear off pretty quick.
It will, but she has made an impression.
Oh, they're having to play their games in bigger arenas because of her. But that's one person. When she's playing, that's going to be big. But when Las Vegas is playing Los Angeles, you're going to still have 2,500 people at the game, and that's it.
I know, but here's what she has done. And this, I'm talking about long-term effect, okay? I'm not talking about basketball. I'm talking about these little girls
Yes.
that are watching her, and then they see her with her boyfriend. Mm-hmm. The long-term effect of these things are what I'm talking about, what's going to be good for life.
Yeah, she's good for the sport, and she's good for people.
Yes.
Just like Phil Robertson was good for duck hunting because he got families and kids duck
Yes.
hunting. All the duck hunters hated him because all of a sudden there was a crowd there. He was good for it. She's been good to show that you can be a girl and be straight and be an athlete. And I hate to be sexual, but that's true.
But I didn't mean to be either. But
that's
let's
the
be
truth.
honest.
That's the reality of the whole deal is that she likes a man, which is normal, and she's eventually going to get married and have kids.
Yes.
And she's brought in tons of people. I saw she sold more jerseys than the entire Dallas Cowboys team did last year. That's amazing. But my granddaughter has 2 of them. She loves Caitlin Clark. She plays basketball.
That's
She's
awesome.
9 years old. She's going to be a cheerleader and a girl basketball player, and she loves Caitlin Clark.
But I think that's the big lasting effect.
Yes,
This other stuff is immediate,
Right.
like you said.
But them to go booking these charter flights, well, You better hope to see that that's a long-term effect for her. But her games are going to be the same way. I don't watch basketball at all. I would watch the WNBA preseason to watch her just to see how she does, because I want to see her beat the critics, because, boy, the people don't want to see her succeed.
No.
They want to make it a race deal all of a sudden. Well, unfortunately, she's white and she's good. And she was the number one player because she was good. Same as Larry Bird, him and Magic Johnson dominated that era, and they're completely different. So I think she's going to put the Tiger Woods effect. Tiger Woods was great for golf because he gave people that didn't watch golf watch to go for Tiger.
You're right.
And then there was a lot of other people that didn't like Tiger because he was black and they didn't want to see him win in golf. And so they were watching hoping he was going to fail. And he didn't fail very much.
No.
He was a freaking stud.
I was really hoping she was going to go back another year.
I do too. I wanted her to go back to college. But she got such a good deal from Nike.
To go pro.
Oh,
What'd she get?
$10 million.
Yeah, or something as much. And I think she gets a percentage of the shoe sales.
Oh, yeah.
I think she's got a Michael Jordan type deal.
Really?
Yeah. You think of how many little girls out there that are buying. I know. I got a friend in town. He's got 2 little girls, and they're 8 and 6 years old. He said they watched every game of hers. He said, sit down. He said, they don't watch sports. Didn't talk, watched her play basketball. It was good. They needed a role model.
Yes.
But girls need a role model other than Taylor Swift.
That's true.
And it's good for them to have that role model, because boys always have had role models. But when's the last girl athlete out there that was a role model for them?
I don't know.
Serena.
Nobody watches tennis already.
But
Mia Hamm, long time ago for soccer,
Yep.
but that's been a long time.
Wichita Falls kid.
Yes, she was. Wichita Falls, Notre Dame.
Yep. I played youth football with her brother who died. He died of cancer at like 21 or 22 years old.
What's it like whenever you have to switch? Like now, all of a sudden you're the AD, you coach, and then now all of a sudden you got all these extra responsibilities put onto you. Is that also like a drain? Because now you're not just in charge of your sport; you're in charge of the entire athletic program.
I think that's finally what did me in. Is
Really?
that because I was at every basketball game, volleyball games that I could make, things like that. That's what I was the type of guy, though. I mean, I was ate up with it, but I love cross country. So when our team qualified for region and state, they'd be running like region. They ran in Lubbock, so I'd get up early Saturday morning and take off and go watch region and drive back, and we'd work on Sunday. Or I'd drive to state down to Georgetown and do the same thing. So it finally just, after doing it for a number of years, it was finally just where I just said, I just got to have a break. And it was good for me to take that year off.
Well, I mean, it's got to be good to where you can just be like, okay, this is what I'm focusing on. All this other crap, it's got to take away from the product at some point.
But I didn't let it, because I would put in my time, and it didn't matter how late I stayed up. Or I mean, I clocked in several 100-hour weeks, and so it was just something that I was dedicated to. I don't believe in doing anything half-assed.
Yeah.
And so it was, if I was going to do it, I was going to do it the best I could.
Well, Hutch, he was the AD forever. He AD here, AD in Stanford, and then I don't know if he was AD. He wasn't.
He wasn't
AD
the athletic. He was campus coordinator.
No, the guy from Wichita, Garfield. Was the.
And then he went back to Stanford this last year, and he's like, "I'm just doing football. All that other crap."
So they have an athletic director now.
That I don't know.
Oh, okay.
I don't know.
I think he's just the football coach.
I think he's just the football.
And
I know
he don't teach
last
nothing.
year, like he even told him, like, I'll do football, but classroom and all that other stuff, like, I'm if that's what you need me for, I'm happily retired.
God, at Holiday, even when I was doing all this stuff, I was teaching the advanced history.
He had some leverage though. He's living there retired, and they need a football coach.
Oh, okay.
And he won 2 state championships there and went to 3.
I
And they're
understand.
like, well, hold on, we got this guy going to come back and coach, and he don't want to do this. I bet you could get you a baseball coach and coach just baseball now if you wanted. There is someone right now that would hire you to just coach baseball.
I get offers.
Yeah, and to just coach
Yes.
and not teach nothing.
Well, that's the problem. To be a head baseball coach, you got to teach.
Right.
I mean, I'm not going to be an assistant.
I'll bet you
I
though.
don't mean that in a negative way.
No, you've got your time in. Why should you? But I bet you that there's somebody out there right now would hire you as a head baseball coach and let you just come to work and coach baseball and do nothing else.
No, I think so, but
You don't want to do it though.
I don't know. I mean, I'm just at that stage in my life where, for the first time, I'm really not coaching, because I still coached football last year, and I was the mentor for the baseball program last year. This is my first year where I just finally told them no, I'm not going to do it, and so it's been kind of nice. And I don't know if I'll get tired of this, but I love being appreciated enough that I'm getting offered jobs. I mean, it's a huge compliment, but.
Well, good coaches are hard to find.
I just don't know. I mean, I'm not saying I wouldn't do it. I just don't know. But I'm not going back to the classroom.
We got a couple of superintendents that listen to here, because I know, because they message me sometimes. So I'm telling you right now, if you want a baseball team to win, offer the guy some money just to come coach baseball. Nothing else. Just coach.
Well, and that's the deal. If the money's right, I'll find me a place to live and go home on weekends.
Where was you last job at? What town?
Tioga. And it was what made it so good. It was just like doing Archer City. I was coming into the town to start a brand new baseball program, just like what I did for Archer. And so I get to this place, it's the same kind of field you got to start out on. So I don't know, man. I'm jacked up, because it's just like reliving when I'm 21, 22 years old. The first year we don't make the playoffs, but the second and third year we went to regional quarterfinals. You know, there's a Class A team. We're going to 2A regional quarterfinals. It was pretty good, because they didn't have Class A playoffs at that time. So I started a big petition for Class A playoffs. And some of the other schools in the area were doing it, and we finally got it going. And so, you know, by then I was ready just to become a liaison guy, you know, or whatever. But that place, though, you know what Tioga's famous for is it's the home of Gene Autry, and it's also where Randy Travis is living.
You see Randy ever?
Yeah.
He's got a lot of problems mentally,
Yes, he
but
does.
he's a lot of drinking problems. But boy, what a talented man!
Oh, man.
So you just see him in town then somewhere?
Well, no, like usually it's at fundraisers.
Okay.
Like he'll have a signed guitar that would be like the big thing that people would bid on and stuff, and he'd be there.
So your son played at Albany.
Yes, sir.
Albany's got the nicest high school baseball field in the country.
Beautiful.
And it was built by the Texas Rangers, basically.
Yes.
Because I was a part of that when they were doing all that stuff. They do the celebrity deer hunts down there,
Yes.
and then they would have an auction and stuff. And that is an amazing facility.
It is. And like you said, and they raised so much money. Well, Abilene Christian did the same thing to be able to get their field built. I don't know why more people don't do those kind of things.
Well, that one in Albany is nice. That is, if I had to take, if I had kids that were my grandkids age 10 or 12 years old, and I could go live in any place in Texas to live into, Albany, Texas would be on that list. It's a great town, a great community, low crime, very, very good athletically and academically,
Yes.
and a good, clean town.
Yes, it is. And the coaches don't leave, so it's a deal where you can know that you're actually going to have a program instead of coaches leaving every single year. It's hard to get a program going when you're leaving all the time. So, but it doesn't happen in Albany. Those coaches stay.
That's a very stable place, and
Yes, it
good,
is.
good people down there.
Is that Hill kid, right? Isn't that the kid that's going to Tech?
Adam Hill.
Yes.
Adam Hill, I mean, yes.
I've got friends that live in Albany, and they're like, the kid is the real deal. He's
went-
another one of those kids that's like in the weight room at 5
believe
o'clock in
it.
the morning.
I
Is he a
went to
big kid?
Yeah, he's big and he's muscled up. I went to regional track meet to watch him run. I mean, you know, he wins both hurdles. He's running phenomenal times. Then he ran a 47 quarter on the anchor leg of their mile relay.
47?
Yes.
How big is he? Is he a 6'2" kid, 200-pound kid? Or
Yeah.
is he? So, I mean,
Yeah.
he's a big size.
Yes.
He going to be a linebacker at Tech?
God, I wish they would make him that lone back, because I'm telling you, the guy can carry a load. And he's got the footwork. I mean, and he's fast, and plus he's got tremendous lateral movement, unbelievable balance. I mean, he's a rare treasure for somebody to find.
I'm going to have to pull for Tech now. I'm a Texas guy now that we're in the SEC, and Texas is going to win the SEC. I hate to tell people that. They're that talented.
They are.
But I think that Texas may have a quarterback controversy. Maybe they're only down play. If yours don't play good, that's going to be the problem for them. But I think Tech's going to be my Big 12 school. I hope I pull for now. It's just hard to, because my wife and Andy, it's all I hear about. So it's easier for me to go against them.
That's ugly.
But I'm really, I want to see them in Oklahoma State both. I think Texas and Oklahoma leaving the Big 12 is going to be good for Tech and OSU and those TCU, those schools like
Yes.
that. I really do. I just don't want the damn Arizona to come in and win under Utah.
Oh, yeah.
And those schools Utah's been really good the last couple of years.
Sure.
So I hate that. But anyways, I'm glad. I didn't know that kid was that big. I just knew he was a hell of an athlete.
Hey, God, he's good.
And a good kid too.
And
from
so
what
muscled
I've-
up. Just, God, he's jacked.
I saw some pictures of him. I can't remember what it was, but I mean, he is a man among boys. And I mean, you see him in his football pads, and like he's a menacing looking critter out there. So how do you like turn it off? You know, you're retired and you've been on this treadmill for so long, so many years, and then like now it's just quiet.
I'll be honest with you. When I'm awake, it's not so bad.
Yeah.
Every single night, I still dream it's either football or baseball. Every single night. I'm not sure it's ever going to go away.
Right.
I'm coaching. I'm not playing, but I'm coaching. And it's always a big decision time deal. I don't know if that will ever go away.
Did you ever get nervous as a coach? Because I can remember as a player, like you'd always, you'd have pregame jitters and everything, but like, was there ever like a nut cutting time where you felt the weight of the situation? Because, you know, like whenever you're playing, like you kind of get in the flow of the game and the nerves kind of settle down.
I'll tell you.
But you've been in some major games.
Yeah, I'll tell you when I finally got nervous was when I had time to stop and I looked back at going to state 6 years in a row, and those same years we were going to state quarterfinals in football. When I had time to finally sit down and appreciate that, that made me nervous because I was thinking about all the fourth down plays that we made. I mean, hell, we had to win one playoff game on a 52-yard field goal. At 3A level, this kid hits a 52-yard field goal.
That's not a give me in the NFL.
No, and this is in overtime. We're in overtime. We went backwards our first three plays, and then this kid, I called him, let's go. And he looked at me and said, yes, we've already been over this. I'm going to need you sometime for this stuff. He said, Coach, that's I said, yeah, I know, go. And he nails it right down the middle.
Really?
It was awesome, man. And so when I finally sat back and looked at that and I could tell stories about it, oh my God, all this nervousness just came flowing over me like, you know, you were in a lot of crucial situations, you know. So, but during the games, I was so focused. That was one gift I've got is that the focus is that I've always been able to, when it's time to be focused on this, I could do that.
Yeah.
Once that was over, I could immediately go to something else.
Right.
And except not sleeping.
Yeah. Cause there's a good line. One of the, before one of our playoff games, one of the principals, he's up in the press box and he's kind of, you know, just looking at, he was always like a little bit of an assistant in the press box. And he looks over to Jeremy West. He said, hey, can I put on your headset real quick? And Jeremy West's like, yeah, sure. Go ahead. So he gets on the headset and he says, boys, coaches, just want to let y'all know, not to add any pressure, but you're staking your professional livelihood on the backs of a bunch of 15 and 16-year-old kids that masturbate in the shower.
Yep.
So he's like, no pressure, but
Yeah, no pressure.
this is who you're working with.
Oh.
You know, I mean, and there's times you just got what you got.
Well, we're playing Childress for the district championship, and Childress is good. I mean, real good. And it's a tie ball game. It's fourth quarter. We're on R10. Well, I can't punt because they're going to get the ball on the 50 and they're
Right.
going to score. So on the headset, I just told all those other coaches, says, boys, I've enjoyed coaching with you, said, but we're going for it. And they're like, what are you doing? I said, we got a special play on
Yeah.
just for this because their nose guard always shaded one way or the other. Well, whichever way he was shaded, we were going to run a quarterback sneak to the opposite side. And went for about 8 yards. We take it down, run the rest of the clock off, and score and win. So, but it could have went the other way, you know.
Coaches get such a bad rap on things though too, especially at the high school level, but even on the pros. Baseball. Ron Washington takes the Rangers to 2 World Series.
Yes.
Texas Rangers ain't never been successful in my whole life of watching. They've been to playoffs one other time before then or two, but no success. They get within an out of winning the World Series, and they fire him the next year. they forget where they come from. Now we're back again with Bruce Bochy. They finally win a World Series. Right now they're playing above 500 ball. They're playing pretty good ball. Rangers probably won't do nothing this year, but you just don't know. I would never count Houston out because they're just always there. But they get rid of these coaches all the time, and you see that in the pros all the time. What gets me is the pro coaches seem to get jobs again when they're not successful. They give them another job. But a guy like Mike McCarthy, he could go 14-3 this year and lose in the first round of the playoffs, which is a Cowboy thing of doing, and they could fire him at 14-3. And I think coaches a lot of times, but they are paid at that level to win. There's no doubt.
Yes.
But I think sometimes we, as fans, expect more than what we should get.
Well, I mean, that's pretty obvious that even in junior high level, when you go see a junior high game, parents are screaming like it's the end of life if they don't win.
Yeah.
Come on, let them have some. I mean, I'm still real big about junior high needs to be fun.
Yeah.
I don't like. I'm telling you, I'm not a big fan of this little league stuff where they're giving these rings out for winning a tournament. It's a tournament,
right.
And things like that. And that's why I always made sure our junior high kids, they played in the always leftover gear that had been passed down over the years. But I see teams now in Pee Wee, they've got more expensive uniforms than, several varsity teams in football and baseball. I'm not a big fan of that.
Yeah, there ain't been one kid from a junior high team ever been fucking drafted or recruited. Nobody ever.
Nobody.
In the history of there ain't an 8th grade kid out there right now that's got a full ride anywhere. It don't happen because you never know what's going to happen when they grow. I know a guy that's got a kid that plays youth football. And they go all over playing these tournaments and shit. That kid is going to be 5'2" when he grows to his height. And his dad thinks he's going to be 6'4" and be the next Randy White. There's nothing wrong with letting your kid be involved in that, but be realistic for your kid. So he don't think he's going to be a disappointment in life because he's not what you think he's going to be. But you're instilling into him right now that you're going to be in the NFL Hall of Fame one night, son, blah, blah. The kid don't have a chance.
No.
Because he does not have the size. And there's no 5'2" lineman in the NFL.
No. Like I said, that's why I'm a firm believer. Let them, they need to have as much fun as they can while they're playing these things. Because if you are fortunate enough to make it to college, it's not fun.
Right.
Baseball or whatever.
It's a job.
It's a job. And I mean, you're there a lot. You're most of your day. It's why your classes are in the morning because they keep you as long as they want in the evenings,
And you got to keep working because Bryce Elder's a friend of ours, pitched for the Braves, and he made the All-Star team last year. 12-3, went the All-Star deal. Didn't make their opening day roster. Sent him down. Now he's back on the opening roster. His first game, he threw a complete shutout, 5 or 6 innings, and then he got shellacked by the Dodgers and gave up 7 runs the other day. But he's still working all the time. He's 23 years old. And he's played in the majors, but played in the All-Star game. You would think when you make the All-Star, and I asked him about that, he goes, there's no guarantee I'll be on the roster. He knew what it was going to take because they have a lot of talent at Atlanta.
Right.
And one of their studs was out for the year and hurt his arm, and he got that job now. But you have to work all the time. And here's guys in the majors, just because you make it don't mean it's automatically going to be there forever. And these young kids don't want to work for nothing, and their parents want to just give them stuff all the time.
Right.
And that's a recipe for disaster for these young people.
At what age should you push a kid forward and lean into okay, let's see how far you can actually take this? Because we're just coming through baseball and all that other stuff, and it's my son's 9. I don't want to take him to D-bats and all this extra shit. I want him to play and enjoy the game and not have it be like a job at 9 years old.
No, please don't do that.
But at what age would you see something from a kid and be okay, now let's start. Let's see if anything's there.
It wouldn't be till junior high.
Really?
No, not until junior high. First of all, the attention span is nothing.
Yeah.
That's why when I do lessons with kids, right now, there's a 7th grade team at Tioga, and I go up and I work with them some. But the maximum time I'll work with them is 45 minutes because that's a class period.
Yeah.
And you're expecting them to pay attention that entire class period. Well, why am I expecting anything different?
Yeah.
Even when I was giving college kids hitting lessons, 45 minutes max. First of all, when you're doing something continuously, that's a good thing because the only way you can ever become a real baseball player is teaching muscle memorization, which is something that muscle has to be trained that way 32 consecutive times before it would become a thing that I can do. Okay? But when you're sitting there and you're harping on somebody after a time, their reaction is piss on it. I'm through.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
And you just don't want to get in that situation. I say let them have good time, and then in junior high, if you're seeing a kid that really, really wants to play and a kid that may be showing some prospect, or even if you just want him to become a better player, now's a good time.
Right.
That's a good time.
Yeah. Because I see on social media a lot, like they've got hitting coaches for like 8 and 9-year-olds,
Yes.
and then pitching coaches, and it's just to me like that feels way too young. Because I remember, whenever I played Little League, it was we just had fun. It was baseball, and you're gonna get a snow cone at the end of the day.
Well, the big deal, and I think you told me Clay told you all this, but learn the basics.
yeah,
A kid that if you want him to be a pitcher, teach him how to throw properly, and then teach him how to aim at a mitt. And catchers, teach them how to block a ball. Those are the basics that if you can learn, those kids really want to end up playing.
right.
It's the ones that, like what you were saying, they're just out there to have fun. They're probably the kids that you're wasting money on.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. That makes sense.
But it's the kids that want to learn. And then you got a chance when they're in junior high, start teaching them because they'll start being able to contain more.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. Like I don't know how much I don't know how much Jeff and my mom really leaned on me. Like
You were a good kid. You didn't get in trouble.
No. I mean, as far as like taking me to like, I went to the Hardin Simmons passing camp, but that was something that I wanted to do. It wasn't anything that they were like, "Hey, you're going to go do this."
But you wanted to do it. See,
Yeah.
that's the big difference.
right. And I think a lot of parents now are living vicariously through their kids.
Oh God.
Like, hey, you got this camp, and you got this, and you got this, and it's just summer is
Well, here's what
Wasted.
an average day for a poor kid is like in a small school. Okay, during the summer, you go to workouts in the morning, and then now they're allowing time for specialization of a sport. And then after specialization of that sport, then they're allowing you to go like 30 minutes to a minor sport.
yeah,
Then you have 7-on-7 you have to go to that evening. Well, guess what? On Wednesday evening, you have basketball.
yep,
Okay. And then some of the parents want their kids to run summer track. I'm telling you, it would have been real hard on me as a kid growing up, not getting a little bit of time to go
Yeah.
swimming and stuff like
What
that.
about the kid that has to work that's poor?
That's where I was so liberal. I mean, kids had to work. I wasn't going to punish them for missing workouts.
Not a kid that has to, that wants to work to buy him a car. But that kid too should have that right.
No, yeah.
But there are kids. I went to school with kids that worked.
Yes.
because it helped their parents put food on the table.
Well, at Tioga, that was a big deal. It was hard to have summer workouts for a while because every kid had to work because they weren't from 2-parent families and stuff.
yeah,
I mean, it was a place that I think I was sent there for a reason. I think God sent me there to try to make a difference. And I think that they made a difference in me too, because it brought me all back to reality of not being around like what I was able to in Holiday, where most people still had both parents and things like that. And seeing these kids that were crap, wearing the same thing to school 3 straight days and stuff, a lot of it tore me up.
And what's interesting is, if you look at it from a social standpoint, those kids that have to work, a lot of those kids at the really poor schools are the kids that are going to make it athletically anyways. I mean, that's the bottom line.
right.
They're the better athlete, but the kids learn work ethic and stuff. That kid that sleeps till 9 o'clock and gets up and goes to the weight room and dicks around for an hour and does this and does that and don't have nothing to worry about, he don't really have a lot of work ethic.
No, and then because they're not going to work. I mean, when we were growing up, we were hauling hay.
Kids worked.
Yes.
All
and
kids had jobs.
all that. And, you know, they didn't have open gym and they didn't have open facilities. I mean, if you wanted to lift weights, you had to go to a college or something to go do it.
Yeah.
So it was tough, you know, but I don't know. I don't think I was any worse off for it.
No, I think kids need to learn to work. I think that's one of the things we've gotten away from. And McDonald's, I hate to tell you people this, but McDonald's is not a place to support your family on. That job, other than managing spots, is for people, for kids. It's a job for 16-year-old kids to make $8 an hour or whatever the hell they're paying, 15 or 20. It's not a career deal. But those kids need to go to work. We don't have nobody working no more. Kids don't work. No. I don't know of very many high school kids in Knox City that have jobs. Mm-hmm. The school hires a couple of them, don't they? Mm-hmm. The city used to hire a couple, but there's no employment places for them. But hell, every farm back in the day had a kid working on it or two. Yeah. And you don't find nobody hiring them anymore either.
Well, those Tioga kids that I was talking about, you know, there's a lot of horse farms up there. And there's also a lot of grass farms. There's plenty of jobs for those kids to do.
And that's good for those kids.
Yes. Well, those kids were very physically inclined. I mean, they were well built and they would work hard for you, you know, but you also knew that sometimes they had to leave practice a little early because their job mandated.
See, I don't think it's fair for a coach to discipline a child that has to work.
Oh, well,
but there are some coaches out there. Well, you need to be in this weight program. That kid also has a life outside of these deal, and let him work. As long as he's working, if he's at home not doing nothing, that's different. But if you got a kid busting his ass working, let him work.
Well, that's one thing I do like about the way Tioga had what we had it set up. It's set up now. Is you would go 2 weeks of the morning workouts, then you got a whole week off. Right. Then you go 2 weeks, then you have a whole week off. And that's all the way through the summer. So they end up getting a month off.
Right.
And I like that. I wish more schools would do things like that. But some schools, it's an everyday deal, you know. And you might get 3-day weekends, but.
Mm-hmm. What? Do you watch girls softball at all?
A little bit.
Is this year OU's not going to win it this year?
No.
So they're not going to happen this year. Texas going to win it?
Texas got a chance.
Oklahoma State?
Yes.
I've seen where like Texas is 1, Oklahoma State's 2, somebody's 3, and then OU's 4.
Well, you know, OU's stud pitcher transferred
and blew her knee out.
Oh, I didn't know she blew
Nebraska,
her knee out.
First game.
I didn't know that.
Yes, that was during what, February or something. Blake might have been here. I mean, it was like the first game, like
I didn't know
second
that.
inning. She tore ACL.
Oh wow.
I think she was getting $1 million a year or something to go there, or whatever they were paying her to go. Right. I mean, she got a pretty good check. The NIL has been good for girls sports because we talked about this. The big Moose girl from Hawaii that was the big hitter for Texas, or for OU, I mean, she made $125,000 last year. There's nowhere for her to make money playing girls softball.
No.
I mean, I'm sure there's somebody's going to pay her some money on the side a little bit, but there's no league that. So she could make more money on her NIL playing at OU than she could anywhere else doing anything. And that's a sport it's good to see that happen to, but not every girl on the softball team is getting paid.
Right.
And I guess I didn't realize the baseball players don't hardly make anything at all either. I don't think college basketball players are making a ton of money either.
No, they're making some. But, football's making
tons.
Ridiculous amounts.
But that's what brings in all the money.
I know.
And it's not fair, but that's the bottom line.
But it's also what pays for the academic buildings and stuff too, though. Academic teams and, I mean, football pays for it. Football's king.
Yep.
Yeah, it pays for, like you said, it pays for
every
swimming,
sport.
It pays for soccer. It pays, like if you don't have that football money, you're not going to have a program. What do you think of Coach Sanders? I am personally a fan, Deion Sanders. I kind of like the way that he brashness maybe.
I like
a lot of old heads that aren't.
I like it as long as he sticks to his guns.
Right.
As long because the things he's saying is definitely old school.
Yes.
If he can stick with what he's saying, because it takes a lot of guts to back up what you say. Mm-hmm. If he does that, man, I'm all in.
Right.
I'm all in.
Yeah, because you don't know. Obviously, we don't know. We only get what they show us, what they choose to show us. But it seems like he's just kind of a no bullshit. This is the way this program's going to run, and if you don't like it, there's plenty of other schools that would like to have
right. You. And then he always wishes them luck. Says he hope this fine young man lands at a spot that he can play for. But I just as long as he sticks to his gun, I'm good with him.
Yeah, I recently saw a video. He was reading professors' emails about some of
saw
his
that,
players.
yeah.
He was not very happy
With the professors, with his kids.
with his kids.
Well, good for him. Then that we need more coach to make Campbell. But see, he can do that where a lot of guys can't.
Yes.
Nick Saban could have done it,
Oh,
and Nick
God,
Saban
yes.
had enough. That's I think before it's all going to find out 2 or 3 years now. Nick Saban, this NIL bullshit was enough for him, and he was
said it.
done. But I think it's really going to come to light here pretty quick. I mean, he has said it, but I think 2 or 3 years down the road, it's going to be more of a talking point of the greatest coach ever walking away because of this stupid stuff going on. But a lot of the coaches can't do what they did. The new guy at Alabama can't do what Nick Saban did.
Oh, I'll tell you, I loved watching his practices because that guy.
Intense.
The new guy,
No,
or Saban. Yes, the new guy don't have the leverage on his players that he's just going to be another college coach. Sanders has got that deal because he's got that dog because he
Yes.
was one of them. So those kids want to be Deion Sanders. I did see that Deion come out and corrected the story that he only wanted his kid and the Travis Hunter kid to only go to certain, didn't want other school teams to draft them, wanted to go. And he said, no, that's not true. I did not say that. Those kids are going to be blessed enough to play in the NFL wherever they go to. Because I think these kids like Caleb Williams at Chicago wants ownership of the team and all that crap. That's stupid. Nobody going to give you owner. You ain't even played a game yet in the NFL. Nobody knows how good you're going to be. But I like Sanders on a lot of his stuff. I think he's overrated as a coach so far because I think he coached at a level playing field and he wasn't very good. I think when he was at Alabama or that school in Alabama, he had superior talent.
Sure.
And I think that Travis Hunter kid may be the best kid in college football right now.
He could
I mean,
be.
he is a stud. I saw one deal has Sanders' son as the number 1 pick.
Oh.
And I think he's very overrated. I think that system, I don't think NFL, it's kind of like LeBron's son. I don't think he's going to get drafted by an
Right.
NBA team.
Yes,
And I don't know but that Hunter kid is really, really, really good.
he is.
And Deion's almost at the put it up or shut up type deal. He has to really show some deal there. But man, what a good move by Colorado. Poof. We watched 5 or 6 games last year.
Oh,
I
yeah.
know,
We
me
don't
too.
care about watching Colorado Buffaloes, but we watched it.
I did too.
I'm not watching Colorado for any other reason.
No, but when they went from 2-0 to 2-6 or something,
Yeah.
lost the luster. Quit watching it after that. But
Yeah.
up until that point, we watched the game all the time.
Hell, I'm thinking about buying tickets for when they go to Lubbock to play. They go to Lubbock this year.
It'd be a hard ticket to get. If you better
hell
get
yeah.
it now.
I bet it's already gone.
Oh, you can get them. StubHub costs you an arm and leg,
Yeah.
but they've swayed. He's good for football.
I think
I
so.
really think he's good for college football, and he gives back, and he seems to really genuinely give a shit about those kids.
I think so.
Make them go to class. They need more of that. They need more Lou Holtz in them.
Yes.
Lou Holtz, I don't think could coach college football today.
No, he'd have a hard time.
Great, one of the greatest coaches ever.
But he didn't put up any bullshit either, though. you
No,
know, and-
but you got to win to be able to do that.
yeah, that's right. You're right. Yeah.
Charlie Strong at Texas, he didn't put up with no shit, but he didn't win games. They fired him,
Yeah.
and he was a good coach.
And I'll even be honest with the way I coached. A coach that wasn't winning wouldn't be able to get by with the
Right.
way I coached.
You ever grab a kid by his face mask?
No, I didn't ever touch a kid, but the kids I was always right in their face, and I always wore sunglasses, and they had enough guts to tell me after they were, 21, 22, 23, and old enough to go have a beer with me, because I told myself I would not drink a beer with anybody until they are 21. I'm
Right.
not going to do it.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just not going. I mean, when they got out of school, like if they saw me out somewhere, like, hey, let's have. No, when you turn 21, I will. But then when they got old enough, they would tell me things like, "Man, coach, you don't know how hard it was. First of all, you're chewing our butts out. We're scared to death, but we're also looking. We see in our reflection in your eyes, and we're wanting to smile and said, we were just scared what you would have done if."
Joe Bob was a face mask grabber.
Yes, he was.
He would grab your face mask. Whoever's close, he would grab their face mask. He might be grabbing your face mask, but chewing on the guy that's 10 yards away that was smart enough to not get close enough to get grabbed on.
I played for those guys that were face mask grabbers.
And that's the way Coach Tyler was. But Coach Tyler loved you, but he was just, that's the way he came across. I had a guy hunt with me 10, 15 years ago, and he was bitching and going to get his junior high son's coach fired. I go, what for? He grabbed him on his face mask. I go, huh? He goes, yeah. I thought this guy was a man's man type of guy. And I was like, well, he said, yeah, my son messed up or something. He don't even put his hands on him. Well, did he hurt him? No, he grabbed him by his face mask. And I lost total respect for that guy. If I saw him today, I never looked at him the same because the guy didn't do nothing wrong, but he grabbed a face mask.
Well, sometimes people are just trying to get them up close to talk to them. It's loud on sideline.
The kid needed an ass chewing is why the guy did it. But he didn't like it because, that's the problem right there. Parents are too worried about the wrong shit. Your son getting the guy grabbing his face mask, getting his ass chewed out. Andy got an ass chew, and he remembers today from when he got 20 years ago. That's a good ass chewing.
Yeah,
my last spanking from my dad, I'll never fucking forget. I'll never forget it. I have never, ever taken a electronic football game to junior high again since I got my ass whooped. I'm never, because I remember that ass whooping. Sometimes kids need a good ass chewing.
Oh, yeah.
Ain't going to hurt nothing.
I was a better base runner after that ass chew.
I bet you were.
If the outfitter would have just caught the ball, I'd have been okay.
Been in good
Yeah.
position,
I'd
wouldn't
have
he?
been, but he like let it fall in front of him, and then all of a sudden I'm the asshole.
Man, he hung you out to dry.
He
didn't
did. He knew I was going to take an ass chewing. I did. I slid into third. It was a picture perfect slide. Dust everywhere. I thought I did good. I got to third base, and then the dust settles, and he's just red faced. And I'm thinking,
Well, I'm proud of old Coach McLemore for that.
what the fuck did I do to deserve this?
Coach Mack chews a lot of ass on the sidelines around here. I went and watched him play in Haskell 2 years ago. He's head coaching there. He was chewing on a kid on the asshole there, and I thought, yep, that's Coach Mack.
I saw something today on Twitter that said the amount of pressure that you can put on a kid is the amount of love that you put into that kid.
Oh, God, yes.
You know what I mean? Like if you've got a good relationship with that kid, you can lean on them because they might not like what you're saying at the moment, but you know it's coming from a good place. But if you've just got this kind of superficial relationship with the kid, they're just going to shut down.
Well, I can tell you some examples of what I tried to always make sure, but like there's some kids that sometimes I might have rode their ass the entire practice, particularly in football, if they were
Right.
a lineman or back. But once practice was over, when they walked by my office, I'd call them in and we would talk about anything except football.
Yeah.
And when I saw them class or in the halls, we'd talk about anything except football.
Yeah.
And so I wanted them to see that, I care about you as a person, not just a player, And
Yeah.
so that was one of the things that even though I ripped a bunch of players, I had a really good relationship with them.
Mm-hmm. And me and Coach McLemore had a great relationship at the time. That's why I didn't take it personal. Like whenever he saw me at graduation, he was like, "Hey, I was out of line in the way that I handled that. It wasn't any big deal. I mean, I've had my ass chewed out before. Mm-hmm. I screwed up, but I should have been at home. Maybe that would have, had I scored that run, maybe momentum carries over and we win the ball game. So it's like, it's part of it. I don't fault you. You were doing your job. It is what it is.
You also raised around a hunting lodge where people had ass chewings before.
Yeah, it's not my first ass chewing.
My youngest son was when he was in boot camp in the Army. I asked him, I said, "Do they chew it, scream, and all that stuff?" He said, "Yeah." I said, "Does it bother you?" He goes, "No, I was raised around the hunting lodge." He goes, "It don't bother me at all." He said, "I know they're doing their job. I don't take it personal." He said, "A lot of these guys get all in their feelings and stuff, but if you don't work somewhere and you get razzed, I can't imagine working somewhere in today's politically correct climate where you can't say this and you can't say that. If you can't make fun of people for something's wrong with them,
I know.
if you can't make fun of people for their lineage, their heritage, where they're from, you can't talk about sex or something. What the fuck fun would it be to work anywhere?
None.
I mean, nothing. I mean, that's what makes life. I mean, if you can't make fun of a fat guy and call him slim, then what wrong? I mean, I just don't get it. Everybody's too damn sensitive these days.
Oh, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, and I don't know what happened.
I don't know.
I mean, as a comedian, I saw where Jerry Seinfeld was talking about the woke has ruined comedians.
Yeah.
You can't be a comedian no more. And
Different times.
it's different times, this deal. We appreciate you driving here from
Man,
Tioga.
you're welcome. You guys, thank y'all.
Over 2.5 hours.
I sure appreciate talking with y'all. Man, it flew by.
You've done it. You've done it. You were an excellent guest. We appreciate what you've done for the kids in this country.
Thank you.
Especially for all the kids in Archer County. You've done a lot of good things there. When Matt McQuarrie talks highly of you, that's really a good thing. And Coach Steele.
It truly is amazing the impact that you can have on a kid's life. And I mean, just not just the 4 years or 6 years that you have them from junior high, but I still remember a lot of the sayings that my coaches had even into my adult. So like you can't put a number on how much a good coach can impact a person well beyond just the time that they're in their program. And it sounds like, from what you've done and the relationship that you have with a lot of kids that have gone on and done really, really special things.
Yes, they have.
I mean, you've really poured your heart and soul into a lot of these kids, and
I appreciate that.
you've done the coaching profession well.
Thank you.
Thank you, Coach. We appreciate you being on
All
here.
right, man.
God bless you and your family, man.
Thank you.
All right, guys. Watch for deer.
Well, thanks, guys.
Yeah, absolutely.